Chapter 150. Mika Kito's gaze was sinister and sharp. Because I have the ability to do so. Bailey Yun's face turned pale. This sentence directly hit his weak spot. He was only an illegitimate son of the Bailey family. Other than having a nominal position in the Bailey group, he had no ability to compete with him for xianxia. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. His slender foxy eyes were filled with anger, humiliation, and hatred. In the end, all the complicated emotions turned into powerlessness. His voice was low and hoarse. Is she badly injured? Mika Kito replied expressionlessly. Not really. I've already applied medicine on her. Of course, I helped her apply it myself. Bailey Yun was furious. He raised his fist and wanted to punch him in the face, but he was caught by the arm. He lowered his voice and said, Bailey Yun, the children are here. I don't want to mess around with you. Mika Kito suddenly flung his arm away and slammed the door shut. Bailey Yun angrily punched the wall. He didn't care that the back of his hand was bleeding. He drove the Lamborghini like the wind. He was full of complicated emotions but had nowhere to vent. In the end, he rushed into Charming Club with a murderous aura. He drank one glass after another to drown his sorrows. Many beauties came forward to hit on him. He shot daggers at them and coldly spat out, "Get lost." The women ran away in tears. Bai Liyun's entire body emitted a powerful aura of resentment and anger. No one dared to approach within 3 meters of him. However, there was one person who wasn't afraid of death. He patted his shoulder and lazily said, I say, second young master, what happened today? There are broken hearts all over the floor of my bar. Bailey Yun flung Xiao Tianxing's hand away. His foxy eyes were slightly drunk. Xiao Tianxing, am I a failure as a person? Xiao Tianxing's sloppy smile froze. Oh, you suffered a blow? Why are you suddenly talking about such a heavy topic? Don't play around with me. I want to hear the truth. Bailey Yun picked up another glass of wine and gulped it down. Xiao Tianxing sat down beside him. You're the object of thousands of women. If this is considered a failure, how can others live? Bailey Yun smiled bitterly. So what if others are chasing after you? She's the only one who doesn't care. Xiao Tianxing knew he was talking about Xia Dong. He rubbed his eyebrows. She is already a member of Mika Kito. I advise you to give up. Bailey Yun drank another glass and his mind was already in a mess. He laughed out loud. She's not, they're just pretending to be engaged. However, I still don't have the chance. His voice gradually became softer, and there was an indescribable sadness in his hazy, drunken eyes. Who asked me to be so useless? I was destined to be a failure from the moment I was born. His birth was not blessed by his family, and his existence would only bring shame to his family. A Yun? Xiao Tianxing put his hand on his shoulder. His expression was serious and serious. If you really love her, try again. Bailey Yun choked back his sobs. What if I fail? If you fail? Xiao Tianxing had a headache. He had never encountered such a tricky problem. He paused and said, if you fail, maybe you should let go. Bai Liyun leaned on the bar counter, trying his best to suppress his strong surging emotions. He originally wanted to be friends with her and let her slowly fall in love with him, but ever since Beitang existed, his image seemed so small. He was afraid that one day she would no longer be able to see him. Think about it. Xiao Tianxing sighed and patted him on the shoulder. When Mika Kito knocked on Xia Dong's door with a bowl of fragrant seafood porridge, she was already asleep. Perhaps because she was too tired, she was in a deep sleep. Mika Kito knocked twice but no one answered. He turned the doorknob but it was locked from the inside. He had no choice but to let her sleep on an empty stomach. Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai were sitting in the dining room. On the surface they were eating at Gigai's, but in fact they were listening to what was going on over there. When he saw Mika Kito coming back with a bowl, Xiao Bao gritted his teeth and said, Uncle Shen, you have to make the person who hurt Mom pay the price. Mika Kito patted his head. I will. Hurry up and eat before it gets cold. Hospital VIP ward. Bailey Han was lying among a pile of instruments and tubes. His head was wrapped in gauze and his face was pale. His handsome eyebrows were tightly knitted, and his thin lips were tightly pursed, making him look very fragile. Bai Jingxiu sat by his bed, and old Madame Bai was also sitting by the side with Xiao Yi in her arms. The three of them looked worried. Su Yunxian knocked on the door and walked in. She said anxiously, Grandma Mommy Bai, how is Han? Old Madame Bai sighed. He's out of danger but he hasn't woken up yet. Old Madame Bai still didn't know that Su Yunxian was faking her pregnancy, so her attitude towards her was normal. How did Han get injured? Su Yunxian looked distressed. Before old Madame Bai could say anything, Bai Jinxiu snorted coldly. It's all because of that woman Xia Dong. She and Xiao Yi were kidnapped, and Han got injured in order to save them. Bai Jinxiu's words were full of disgust for Xia Dong, and he didn't even consider that his words would hurt Xiao Yi. Xiao Yi was already feeling guilty. When she heard this, her small body stiffened and she couldn't help but clench her fists. Old Madame Bai keenly sensed the change in his emotions, and she hugged him tighter. She said in a deep voice, Jinxiu, you can't blame Xia Dong and Xiao Yi for this. If you want to blame someone, blame those vicious kidnappers. How dare they target our Bailey family? Su Yunxian was shocked and angry. She didn't expect that group of idiots would lead Bailey Han to them. She had clearly hinted to them that Mika Keto was Xia Dong's backer. She clenched her fists again and again to suppress the anger in her heart. She revealed a shocked expression. Xiao Yi was kidnapped too? Is Xiao Yi all right? She bent down wanting to touch Xiao Yi's head. The moment her palm landed on the top of his head, Xiao Yi screamed and hit and kicked her. Old Madame Bai repeatedly comforted her. Don't be agitated, baby Yi. It's okay. Great-grandma is here. Su Yunxian took a few steps back and her expression was a little ugly. Bai Jinxiu comforted her. Yunxian, don't mind him. Xiao Yi is just frightened. It's okay, Mommy Bai. It's my fault. I know that Xiao Yi will be more agitated when he sees me, but I still can't help but want to care about him. Su Yunxian forced a smile. Bai Jinxiu sighed and her elegant brows furrowed slightly. Bailey Han, who was lying on the hospital bed, suddenly moved his lips. Old Madame Bai leaned over excitedly, thinking that he was about to wake up. However, she heard him close his eyes and murmur softly, Xia Dong? Xia Dong. Su Yunxian's face instantly turned pale. He was unconscious but he was still thinking about that woman. Old Madame Bai and Bai Jinxiu's expressions also turned ugly. Xia Dong. Xiao Yi. He frowned in pain and repeatedly called out their names. It was as if he was being haunted by a nightmare. His fingers were still agitated but he suddenly clenched them. Xiao Yi struggled to crawl out of old Madame Bai's arms. He moved his body and crawled to Bailey Han's pillow. He reached out his small hand and stroked his cold cheek. He said softly, Daddy, I'm Xiao Yi. Daddy, please wake up quickly. Old Madame Bai and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. Xiao Yi spoke. Su Yunxian was the most shocked. She began to panic. If Xiao Yi revealed that she had pushed him down the stairs, not only would Han hate her, but the entire Bailey family would never accept her again. Xiao Yi's whispers were really effective. Bailey Han's murmurs gradually disappeared. His fingers were no longer nervously curled but calmly stretched out. However, his brows were still slightly furrowed, as if he was still worried about something. Daddy, I'm sorry. Xiao Yi lay next to him, his small body close to him. His small head rubbed against his arm. His eyes were glistening with tears, but he held them back and did not let them fall. Old Madame Bai wiped the corners of her eyes, leaned closer and gently hugged the father and son. Su Yunxian had been feeling uneasy. Fortunately, after Xiao Yi said those two words, he did not open his mouth again. Her heart slowly calmed down. At night, Bailey Han still did not wake up. Old Madame Bai wanted to stay and wait for him to wake up. Bailey Xiong, Bai Jinxiu, and the others persuaded her in every way possible. Su Yunxian insisted on staying to accompany him, but as the rich miss, there were many things that she did not know how to do, so she hired a senior nurse. After sleeping in the hospital for a night, Su Yunxian's body was sore all over. After giving the nurse a few instructions, she drove home to take a shower and change her clothes. When she returned to the hospital, old Madame Bai and Xiao Yi had already arrived. Old Madame Bai said pleasantly, Yunxian, thank you for your hard work last night. The nurse was very sensible. She told old Madame Bai about how Su Yunxian took care of Bailey Han last night. Su Yunxian smiled faintly. Grandma, this is what I should do. I just went home to change my clothes and asked the kitchen to make soup for Han. When he wakes up it will be sent over. Old Madame Bai nodded in satisfaction. Xiao Yi, good morning. Su Yunxian walked 2 steps away and greeted Xiao Yi with a smile. Xiao Yi stared straight at Bailey Han as if she did not exist. Old Madame Bai said helplessly, Xiao Yi only said a few words to Han last night. After returning home he refused to speak again. This explained why he was ignoring her. Su Yunxian knew that Xiao Yi did not tell anyone about her. She was ecstatic. Her eyes moved and she was about to say something when she suddenly heard old Madame Bai's surprised voice. Han, you're awake. Xiao Yi happily pounced on him and hugged his arm, carefully avoiding his wound. Bailey Han's face was very pale. His lips were pale and his eyes were a little dim. His fingers moved slightly and slowly lifted up to land on Xiao Yi's face. He called out in a hoarse voice, "Xiao Yi, Daddy?" Xiao Yi could no longer hold back the tears that she had been holding back for a long time. They fell down and she threw herself into his arms and cried. Welfare Hongcha 866. Chapter 151. The corners of Bailey Han's lips curled up. There was a smile in his eyes as he said, "It's been a long time since I've heard little Wingzy call me Daddy." "Daddy, Daddy." Xiao Yi called him over and over again. Her clear voice echoed in the ward. Old Madame Gu couldn't help but feel sad and wipe her tears. "Grandma." Bailey Han smiled at old Madame Gu. "I want to see Xiaodong." Old Madame Gu froze in the middle of wiping her tears. Su Yunxian stepped forward and forced a smile. "Han, you just woke up and your body is still very weak. Have a good rest." Bailey Han didn't look at her. His eyes were firmly fixed on old Madame Gu and he said again, "Grandma, I want to see Xiaodong." He was indeed still very weak. He was already panting after saying a few words. Old Madame Gu couldn't bear to refuse him when she saw him enduring the pain. She sighed and walked out of the ward. Su Yunxian followed her and said in a low voice, "Grandma, are you really going to ask Xiaodong to come over?" Old Madame Gu was helpless. "Yunxian, you know Ahan's temper. If I don't let him see Xiaodong, he won't cooperate with the treatment. In his current condition, I have to agree." "Grandma, you're right. I didn't think it through." Su Yunxian gritted her teeth and forced a smile. Old Madame Gu patted the back of her hand. "Yunxian, it's been hard on you." "It's okay, Grandma. As long as Han gets better soon, I don't care." After a night of rest and Mika Kito's special wound medicine, Xiaodong's injuries had healed a lot. Some parts of her body had scabbed over and the bruises had faded. Walking out of the bedroom, Mika Kito was wearing an apron and was busy in the kitchen. He was tall and straight, wearing an apron with cartoon dolls printed on it. He looked out of place. She leaned against the wall and chuckled. "You're awake. Does your wound still hurt?" Mika Kito held a spatula and poked his head out of the kitchen to ask her. His eyes were full of love. "It's a lot better." "Brother Shin, why are you cooking again? Just order some takeout." She felt guilty eating the food cooked by the CEO every day. It's not safe to buy it outside. Mika Kito turned back into the kitchen and turned the fried eggs in the pan. "Let's go outside. The smell of oil and smoke." "Oh, okay." Xiaodong sniffled. It smelled so good. She fell asleep without eating anything last night, so she was really hungry now. After washing up, she woke the two little guys up. The first thing Xiao Guai did when he got out of bed was to lie in front of her. He said with concern, "Mommy, does your wound still hurt?" Xiaodong kissed him on the forehead. "Gigai, don't worry. Mommy's wound doesn't hurt anymore." Xiao Guai blinked and cupped her face with his little hands. He moved his little mouth close to her swollen face and blew gently. "Mommy, I'll blow on it for you. It won't hurt anymore after I blow on it." Xiaodong hugged her daughter's soft little body tightly. "Yes, yes. It doesn't hurt at all. Gigai's blow really works." When he called Xiaobao rubbed his messy hair with a confused look in his eyes. He stuck his little butt out and rummaged around the pillow for a while before he found an exquisite necklace and handed it to Xiaodong without saying a word. "Xiaobao, is this for me?" The sleepiness in Xiaobao's eyes finally disappeared. He nodded heavily and puffed up his little bun face. "Mom, no matter where you go in the future, you have to wear this necklace. This way, even if you go to the ends of the earth, I can find you." He thought about it for most of the night before coming up with this idea. "It's so magical. You didn't install a global positioning system in the necklace, did you?" Xiaodong smiled and joked. She took the necklace from her son and observed it carefully. It should be platinum. It was low-key and luxurious. The pendant was a green and white cat's eye stone. It looked beautiful and elegant. "Almost. This cat's eye stone is hollow. I put a very small tracker in it." "Mom, lower your head. I will put it on for you." If there was another person who was not afraid of death and kidnapped his mother, he would be able to find her location in the first place. Xiaodong lowered her head and asked curiously, "Where did you get this necklace?" Xiaobao chuckled. "I got it from Uncle Shen. Anyway, this was prepared by Uncle Shen and he planned to give it to you, so I modified it a little." His chubby little fingers moved nimbly behind her neck and fastened the necklace. He suddenly leaned over to her injured cheek and kissed it quickly. He turned his face away and looked uncomfortable. "Does it still hurt?" Xiaodong rubbed his hair and smiled. It was still very painful, but it didn't hurt anymore after you kissed it. So, my precious son, why don't you kiss it again? No way. Xiaobao awkwardly escaped from her arms. His little ears were dyed a light pink. The mother and son came out of the bedroom. Mikakito was carrying breakfast from the kitchen. He saw the necklace on Xiaodong's neck and smiled. Breakfast is ready. Xiaobao and Xiaoguai, hurry up and wash up. Okay, the two tender voices answered together. They smiled. It felt good to have Mommy and Uncle Shen. After breakfast, Mikakito went to the office while Xiaodong stayed at home. She was about to call Bailey Yun to ask about Bailey Han's situation when she suddenly received a call from old madam. She was very happy to hear that Bailey Han had woken up. When she heard that Bailey Han wanted to see her, she was stunned. She hesitated for a moment and said, "Old madam, is it inconvenient?" Old madam's tone wasn't very good. "If Ahan wasn't in a bad condition right now, I wouldn't let you see him. Since I've decided to let you see him, come over." Xiaodong frowned. Anger rose in her heart. She tried hard to suppress it and said calmly, "I understand. I'll be at the hospital in about an hour." Xiaodong changed into a long-sleeved knee-length skirt to cover the scars on her arms and legs. The scars on her body were easy to cover, but the scars on her face were too obvious. She used a curling iron to curl her hair and used all her strength to push her hair forward, covering her slightly red and swollen cheeks. She sent the two children to Yi Siki's place to take care of them and then rushed to the hospital. Su Yunqian was also there. She looked at Xiaodong with an extremely cold gaze. Old madam's face darkened. "Since you're here, go in. You should know what to say and what not to say." Xiaodong didn't want to say anything more. She nodded and pushed open the door of the ward. The sunlight shone in through the window and cast a shadow in the middle of the room. Xiaodong stood quietly in front of Bailey Han's bed. Her heart ached as she looked at his pale face. Bailey Han was also looking at her. Although she tried hard to cover it up, he still saw her injured cheeks. She must also be covered in scars where he couldn't see them. Some of them were even caused by him. She said in a hoarse voice, "I'm sorry. If I hadn't implicated you, you wouldn't have become like this." He closed his eyes and smiled tiredly. "It's not your fault. Come to think of it, he was the one who had implicated her. If he had done a better job back then, the incident with old Mo wouldn't have happened." He waved his hand and she walked closer. He said softly, "Do the injuries on your body still hurt?" He paused for a moment and his face turned slightly pink. Did I hurt the child in your stomach?" Xiaodong knew what he was referring to. Her face heated up and she looked down uncomfortably. "No, it's okay. The child is fine." He was full of guilt and said softly, "I'm sorry. I almost hurt you." Xiaodong's nose twitched and she burst into tears. "You scared me to death. Do you know that you almost killed yourself?" He smiled. "I didn't want to hurt you." If he hadn't sobered up at the last moment, he really didn't dare to imagine what kind of terrible consequences it would have caused. Xiaodong's heart skipped a beat. She bit her lip and tried to control her emotions. "Thank you." There was a gentle smile in his eyes. She tried to say something happy. Xiaoyi spoke. "When you were unconscious, he hugged you and cried very sadly." He chuckled. "I know. If it wasn't for his cries, I might still be unconscious." His face was pale. It was obvious that he was forcing himself to talk to her. She smiled and said, "Mr. Bailey, have a good rest. I'll come and see you another day." Bailey Han suddenly grabbed her wrist. "Call me Bailey Han." Compared to a polite address, he was more willing to hear her call him by his full name when she was flustered and exasperated. It gave him a familiar sense of closeness. She wanted to struggle, but she was afraid that it would affect his wound, so she could only let him hold her. His dark eyes stared at her, containing many things that she couldn't understand. She compromised. "Bailey Han, let go of me." If old madam and Su Yunqian saw this, she wouldn't be able to explain herself. He slowly let go of her. "I'll leave first. Have a good rest." She walked to the door. Before she opened it, his tired voice suddenly came from behind. "Xiaodong, did we know each other before?" Her outstretched hand froze. With her back facing him, she asked, "Why do you ask?" He was already very tired after talking so much. He took a deep breath and said, "When I was unconscious, I had many dreams. In my dreams there was you and me. We seemed to be very familiar with each other. The dreams were also very real, as if it had happened before." She dug her fingers into her palms. "What did you dream of?" "I don't remember." He actually only remembered one scene. He was carrying her in his arms as they walked through the forest. It was raining heavily and she was leaning on his chest like a weak kitten. He could even clearly remember how he felt at that time. The joy of finding something he had lost, the worry, and the love that was so thick that it couldn't be dissolved. She closed her eyes and said lightly, "No, we didn't know each other before. That was the first time we met at the ERC press conference." He said slowly, "I still remember that you approached me several times and said that you needed my help. You even said that you didn't come back to disturb me on purpose. The way you spoke was like an old acquaintance. Come and see." xianxia 866. Chapter 152. She interrupted him. "That was just a way for me to get close to you. I pretended to be an old acquaintance. Didn't you see through it?" After a moment of silence, he said, "What do you need my help with?" He seemed to have always treated her as a liar and had never asked her these questions. "Nothing. I just wanted to get an advertisement for Glamour magazine. Didn't I successfully sign an advertisement contract with your company?" He shook his head. He didn't believe it. What had happened in the past few months replayed in his mind like a movie. He didn't believe that she got close to him for such a simple purpose. He was even more suspicious of her saying that they didn't know each other in the past. However, he didn't have the energy to confront her now. "I'll leave first." Xia Dong didn't want to say anything more. She opened the door and walked out. Old Madame Dowager and Su Yunqian were sitting in the corridor. When they saw her come out, their eyes fell on her at the same time. Xia Dong nodded at them. "He's tired. I'll leave first." She didn't wait for them to answer and left directly. She was also very tired and didn't want to pretend to be polite to them. Old Madame Dowager and Su Yunqian had different expressions. After a moment of silence, Old Madame Dowager said, "Yunqian, you've been tired all night. Go back and rest first." "No, Grandma. I'm fine. I want to stay and take care of Han. Even if you can bear it, the child in your belly can't. Listen to me and go back to rest." Old Madame Dowager's unintentional words made Su Yunqian's body stiffen and her face turn pale. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Old Madame Dowager looked concerned. Su Yunqian covered her mouth and sobbed softly. "Grandma, I'm sorry. The child was accidentally lost. Han finally decided to keep the child, but I didn't protect him. I didn't dare to tell you because I was afraid that you'd be angry with me. Han has already ignored me because of this. If you continue to ignore me, then I'll... She choked with sobs. The old madam did not expect this to happen. She patted her shoulder with heartache. "Don't be sad. You're still young. You can have another child in the future." Although the old madam was heartbroken, she was secretly relieved. Xiao Yi's condition was gradually improving, and she was very sensitive to Yun Qian. If she knew that Yun Qian had a child, she might be agitated. Now that the child was gone, it could be considered a good thing. Su Yunqian wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes with a handkerchief. "Grandma, can I ask you for a favor? If there's anything, just say it. I want to ask you not to tell Mommy Bai and the others about my pregnancy and the loss of my child. Also, don't mention this in front of Han. I don't want him to hate me every time he thinks about this." Su Yunqian's pregnancy, old madam did not tell the rest of the family, mainly because she had not decided whether to keep the child or not. If the whole family knew about it, it would be difficult for her in the future. "Okay, I won't say anything. Han is a stubborn person. It wasn't easy for him to decide to keep the child, but now the child is gone. It's understandable that he's angry. You should understand him, Grandma. I know. I'll wait for him to forgive me. Yunqian, you'd better go back and rest first. You just had a miscarriage. You need to take care of your body. But Han, it's not urgent. Go back quickly." Su Yunqian hesitated for a long time. "Okay, Grandma. I'll go back first. I'll ask the servants to bring the soup in the kitchen." "Okay, go ahead." In the brain surgeon's office, Bailey Xiong said, "Doctor, what's the result of my son's head examination?" The doctor did a head MRI and head CT scan for Bailey Han. He took the examination report and said, "Mr. Bailey, young master's brain injury this time is not serious except for a slight concussion. However, we found a low-density shadow in his left parietal lobe with a vague boundary. There is a substantial shadow in the rest of his brain. It should be an old injury." Bailey Xiong said nervously, "Yes, my son had a car accident 5 years ago and his brain was seriously injured." "What do you mean by shadow? Could it be a tumor?" "It's not a tumor. It may be a remnant of the previous injury." Bailey Xiong was shocked and thought of something. It was very likely that the shadow was that thing. Mr. Bailey, young master still needs a detailed examination. After the location of the foreign body is clear, we will use the treatment method of surgery to treat it. Doctor, will the foreign body in my son's brain affect him? For the time being, it doesn't affect young master, but it's hard to say because the foreign body is likely to oppress his nerves and have other effects. Bailey Xiong was silent for a while and said, I need to discuss it with my family before making a decision. The detailed examination results came out. The shadow in Bailey Han's brain was a remnant of the car accident 5 years ago. After the family's discussion, they decided not to perform surgery and let him stay as he was. However, in the eyes of the doctor, it was like a time bomb that could explode at any time and kill him. Since the family did not agree to the surgery, there was nothing they could do. During Bailey Han's hospitalization, Su Yunqian went to the hospital 3 times a day. Unfortunately, he did not take her seriously at all and did not even want to look at her. He was in good health and was discharged from the hospital after 2 days. Except for the pain in his head, his other bodily functions had returned to normal. Xia Dong's injuries were basically healed. She was holding Xiao Guai and teaching her arithmetic when her cell phone rang. It was Bailey Han. Hello, Mr. Bailey. How are you feeling? Bailey Han's deep voice came from the other side. Call me Bailey Han. Oh. She was a little embarrassed. Bailey Han, are you feeling better? Much better. I'll be discharged today. She smiled. Then I'm relieved. He seemed to be in a good mood and chuckled. Are you worried about me? She couldn't help but grip her cell phone tightly and coughed. You were injured because of me. Of course I'm worried about you. He paused for a moment and said in a serious tone, Then how do you plan to repay me for saving your life? She was silent for a moment. Are you really Bailey Han? Was he really not Bailey Yun in disguise? What kind of person am I in your heart? Cold on the outside but warm on the inside. He smiled faintly. He was not warm to everyone. Xia Dong hesitated for a moment and asked, Well, how is Xiao Yi? That day he also suffered a lot. Even an adult like her was traumatized by the sight of blood, let alone a child. He rubbed his eyebrows. I heard from Grandma that he had a nightmare on the first night. He's fine now. What worries me is that he still doesn't want to talk. She bit her lip and comforted him. Don't worry. Xiao Yi will get better slowly. He just needs some time to overcome his psychological barrier. He was silent for so long that she thought he had hung up the phone. He suddenly said, On the day you were kidnapped, I suddenly understood what you said. For Xiao Yi and I'm willing to give up my life. Her body stiffened and she had difficulty breathing. Her blood flow was not smooth. Did she hear wrongly? He said that he was willing to give up his life for her and Xiao Yi. She held her cell phone and didn't dare to speak. She tried to convince herself that she was dreaming. He smiled bitterly. I only dared to admit my feelings for you when I was delirious. Even if you lied to me, I still fell in love with you like a fool. No, don't say any more. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. Xia Dong hung up the phone in a panic. She hugged Xiao Guai in a daze. Her heart was beating very fast in her chest. She couldn't help but imagine the scene of him hitting the pillar in the wind. Mommy, what's wrong? Xiao Guai shook Xia Dong's arm. Her little face was filled with worry. Mommy is fine. Gigai, let's continue. Xia Dong tried hard to shake off those wild thoughts. She picked up a book and continued to teach her daughter arithmetic. Bailey Han held his cell phone in silence. He closed his eyes and rubbed his forehead. He must be crazy. He knew it was impossible between them, but he still wanted to tell her his feelings for her. She was Mika Kito's woman. She was Mika Kito's woman. He reminded himself twice. He wanted to throw her to the back of his mind, but her figure became clearer. There was a soft knock on the door. He said, Come in. Linny walked in. Mr. Bailey, are you okay? Bailey Han extended his hand and gestured for him to sit. I'm fine now. Dr. Lin, I invited you here to ask you something. Xiao Yi clearly spoke when I was injured, but now he's not saying anything. What's going on? Lin Yi furrowed his eyebrows. Can you be more specific? What happened? Bailey Han crossed his arms and told him everything that happened that day in detail. Of course, he didn't mention Xia Dong's name and that old Mo came for revenge. After that, he told her about how little Wingzi had cried while he was unconscious. Lin Yi thought about it seriously for a few seconds before saying, I think little Wingzi's autism is almost fully recovered. The reason why he doesn't want to talk now is probably because he feels guilty and doesn't know how to communicate with you. You also said that little Wingzi felt very guilty. He felt that he was the cause of this kidnapping and your injury. Then what should we do? Communicate with him patiently. You have to send a message that you love him very much. The kidnapping has nothing to do with him. It's not his fault that you're injured. Use positive emotions to influence him and let him walk out of his guilt. Also, divert his attention. Don't let him think about it all the time. I understand. Thank you, Dr. Lin. You're welcome. Let me know if you need me. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 153. When he sent Linny downstairs, Bailey Han saw Xiaoyi open the door and poke his head out. His eyes flashed as soon as he saw them. He quickly returned to his room and closed the door with a bang. How could he get rid of his psychological barrier? Bailey Han rubbed his eyebrows and thought. Bailey Han told the whole family about Lin Yi's suggestion. They resolutely carried out a series of measures. They never mentioned the kidnapping and took extra care of Xiaoyi. Bailey Han didn't go to the company either. He accompanied him every day. Lu Zihao reported to him on the phone and important documents were sent home for his approval. He and little Wingzi bathed Lil P together. Because the young master had no experience in bathing pets, Lil P became uncomfortable. Lil P shook its fur angrily, causing the two of them to be drenched in water. With their faces full of water droplets, they went upstairs to change their clothes with the same serious expression. The servants who were hiding and peeking all covered their mouths and laughed wildly. They sat cross-legged on the floor and played video games or go together. Bailey Han also taught Xiaoyi how to swim, how to shoot darts, and took him to ride the roller coaster. In short, he would bring little Wingzi along to experience any games that children played. At night, when he was lying in bed, he would take out books such as How to Play with Children and How to Be a Good Father from under his pillow and study them. The results of playing with his son were obvious. His son no longer avoided his gaze and would smile brightly at him. He was no longer like a little old man with a straight face all day. Unfortunately, his son still refused to speak. He had the patience to cure his son, but Lu Zihao couldn't take it anymore. Lu Zihao was about to cry. It had been a whole week. As the CEO of Xinghao Group, he didn't go to the company but stayed at home with his son. There were a lot of rumors in the company and a lot of problems had piled up in various departments. CEO, please hurry back to the company. Lu Zihao almost hugged Bailey Han's leg and cried. I know, I'll go to work tomorrow. Bailey Han knew that it wasn't easy for Lu Zihao to withstand the pressure from the board of directors for so long. Bailey Han thought for a while and called Xiaodong. Xiaodong, I have to go back to work tomorrow. Can you bring Xiaobao over to visit Xiaoyi? Is it inconvenient? Madam doesn't seem to want us to contact with Xiaoyi. Besides, he's almost recovered. Xiaodong's head hurt. She had a headache. She wanted to see Xiaoyi, but Madam hated her because of Bailey Han's injury. Would she still allow her to bring Xiaobao to visit Xiaoyi? Moreover, she didn't dare to see Xiaoyi. Han didn't want to see him again. I'll take care of Grandma. It's precisely because little Wingzi has already made great progress that I don't want to fail at the last step. He silently squatted in front of Xiaoyi and looked her up and down with his clear eyes. Xiaoyi felt uncomfortable under his stare. Xiaobao suddenly said, Bailey, do you know that sometimes I really hate you to death? Xiaoyi's small body stiffened. Sure enough, everyone hated him because of that incident. Xiaobao hit his forehead hard. You're really annoying. You obviously know how to talk but you don't say it. You make everyone so anxious. Even my mommy cried a few times because of you. That woman cried because of him? It seemed like something she would do. When she was kidnapped, she even took a bullet for him. It wasn't unusual for her to cry because of him. Xiaobao saw that he was in a daze and snorted coldly. Let me tell you, don't think that my mommy is pretending just to get close to your daddy. My mommy doesn't want to get close to him. If it wasn't for Gigai. Forget it, I won't say so much to you. Gigai? Xiaoyi suddenly turned her head and stared at Xiaobao. What's wrong with Gigai? Oh, you're finally willing to talk. Xiaobao glared at her angrily. Gigai is my sister. Why are you so concerned about her? Xiaoyi choked on his words. Her round face puffed up and her eyes sparkled. She paused for a few seconds and said, She's my friend. It's natural for me to care about her. Who was the one who poured a drink on Gigai and caused her to fall ill? Xiaobao was very vengeful. He would remember anyone who dared to hurt the people he cared about for the rest of his life. I was wrong at that time. I apologize. Even though Xiaoyi was apologizing, she still looked insufferably arrogant. Can you tell me now what happened to Gigai? Also, why did a drink cause her to fall ill? What's wrong with her? Xiao Yi's eyes had a sharpness that didn't match her age. She caught the information that Xiao Bao had inadvertently revealed in his words. Xiao Bao rolled his eyes and sat across from him. Crossing his short legs, he said, I can tell you, but you have to tell me who your mommy is first. Xiao Yi's expression darkened. I don't know either. She passed away right after I was born. Have you seen her picture? He lowered his head sadly. No, I don't know what she looks like. How did your mommy pass away? Xiao Yi clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. They said that she eloped with someone and got into a car accident, but I don't believe them. I think she's still alive. Xiao Bao didn't know how to comfort him. He patted his little shoulder and changed the question. Bailey, how old are you this year? Xiao Yi stared at him. Why are you asking this? His mind jumped too quickly. Don't worry about it. Just tell me the answer. Xiao Bao had always been brooding over the fact that Bailey Han had abandoned the three of them and had a child with someone else. Therefore, he really wanted to find out who Bailey Han had given birth to Bailey Yi and when he had started to betray his mother. Xiao Yi thought of his condition and answered reluctantly, 4.5 years old. Xiao Bao's pupils shrank. He and Xiao Guai were also 4.5 years old. Bailey Han, that bastard, was actually fooling around with another woman when his mommy was pregnant. He was so angry. He gritted his teeth and asked, Then what's your birthday? The 6th of February. Xiao Bao was petrified. The 6th of February. His and Xiao Guai's birthdays were also on the 6th of February. Boo-hoo, he was going to kill that bastard Bailey Han. No one was going to stop him. Xiao Bao suddenly jumped up from the ground. With a fierce expression, he walked out without a word. Xiao Yi was dumbfounded and called out to him, Hey, where are you going? Xiao Bao turned around and bared his teeth sinisterly. I'm going to kill Bailey Han. Xiao Yi was stunned at first. Then he held his stomach and laughed heartily. Still not satisfied, he lay on the ground and copied Xiao Bao's old actions. He rolled and laughed like a happy puppy. Xiao Bao's face darkened. He was actually being laughed at by this annoying guy. The corners of his mouth twitched. Stop laughing. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Yi seemed to want to make up for all the laughter he hadn't used in the past 4 years. He rolled around on the ground happily. Xiao Bao was completely enraged. His eyes were round and round. Fine, keep laughing. Don't think that I'll tell you about Xiao Guai. Xiao Yi stopped laughing and turned around to sit up. He raised his little chin and his eyes were full of disdain. Xiao Bao, you're not a man. You don't keep your word. I despise you. Beauty Novel Song Shu 566. Chapter 154. Xiao Bao raised his eyebrows, a mischievous glint in his black eyes. I'm not a man, I'm a child. This time it was Xiao Yi's turn to grit his teeth in anger. Xiao Bao, you cheated. All's fair in war. Bailey, I'm sorry. Xiao Yi's eyes widened. He seemed to have thought of something and suddenly curled his lips. It's okay if you don't tell me. I'll find out myself. Take your time. Xiao Bao shrugged nonchalantly. If you have the ability to find out, it'll prove that what I said is true. Xiao Yi snorted. Don't worry. After I find out, I'll tell great-grandmother about it so that she won't have to worry. He could tell that great-grandmother didn't like Xia Dong either. It was as if she was afraid that she would steal Daddy away. Xiao Bao glared at him. You win. So, are you willing to tell me the truth now? Xiao Yi crossed his arms arrogantly. Xiao Bao glared at him fiercely. I can tell you, but you have to swear on your mommy's name that you won't tell anyone about this. If you break your oath, your mommy will never be reincarnated. Xiao Yi said angrily, That's too cruel of an oath. Xiao Bao shrugged. As long as you don't break your oath, everything will be fine. Xiao Yi was conflicted. In the end, his curiosity won out. He gritted his teeth and said, I swear that I won't tell anyone about what you told me. Otherwise, my mommy will never be reincarnated. Okay, you can tell me now. Very good. You have to remember your oath. Xiao Bao patted his shoulder in satisfaction. This is what happened. Xiao Bao only talked about his sister's illness and how his mother had no choice but to give birth to a child with the same blood as Gigai to save Gigai. As smart as Bailey Yi was, he immediately reacted. His eyes widened in disbelief. So, you and Xiao Guai are also Daddy's children? That's right. Xiao Bao pouted in disdain. But I won't acknowledge him. He abandoned the three of us and even had you with another woman. He's so despicable. Xiao Yi didn't recover from the huge shock for a long time. He stared blankly at the floor. His daddy actually had 2 children with another woman. Hey, are you stupid? Xiao Bao poked his arm with his finger. You've already sworn that you won't tell anyone. Do you hear me? No, that's impossible. Xiao Yi grabbed his hair angrily. Didn't you say that your daddy is Mikakito? Xiao Bao rolled his eyes. I was lying to you. If my daddy is Uncle Shen, I have no reason not to take his surname. You're lying to me. You must be lying to me. Xiao Bao, I won't believe you. Xiao Bao sneered. I'm lying to you? What's the benefit of lying to you? Let me tell you, I've never liked you because your mother seduced Bailey Han and made him abandon my mother. No, that's not it. My mother isn't that kind of person. Daddy must know my mother first. Xiao Bao, you're not allowed to speak ill of my mother. Humph, whether you believe it or not, that's what happened. Xiao Bao didn't back down and stared into his eyes. Xiao Yi rushed up angrily and grabbed Xiao Bao's collar. The two little guys wrestled with each other. Bailey, I'm warning you. Don't hit my face. Xiao Bao, don't grab my hair. Let go of me. The two of them fought for more than 10 minutes before they finally got tired. They grabbed each other's necks and lay on the floor, panting. Bailey, let go. You let go first. Let's let go together. I'll count to 3. Xiao Bao counted to 3, but the two sly guys didn't let go. They were still grabbing each other's necks. If you don't let go, I'll suffocate to death. I'll count to 3 again. Okay, Xiao Bao, don't play any more tricks. Xiao Bao's little face was red from suffocation. He counted to 3 again. This time the two of them let go at the same time. They were panting and staring at each other with eyes that said, I can't wait to bite you to death. The two little guys were injured. Xiao Bao took a punch to the cheek. Xiao Yi's hair was a mess, and there was a bunch of hair on the floor that had been thrown away. Their clothes were messy and they were in a sorry state. After a few minutes, the two of them calmed down. Xiao Yi was still immersed in the huge blow. She gritted her teeth and said, If you and Xiao Guai were daddy's children, wouldn't you want to acknowledge him? Xiao Bao sneered, I won't acknowledge someone who abandoned me. As for Xiao Guai, she doesn't even know who daddy is. She also doesn't know what illness she has. So don't let it slip in the future. Xiao Yi was stunned. After a while she asked, Is Xiao Guai's illness serious? Xiao Bao's expression became serious. It's serious. It's very serious. Otherwise, my mommy wouldn't have been so desperate to get close to your daddy. Xiao Yi fell silent. She turned her back to Xiao Bao and curled her little body up. She still couldn't accept this. Xiao Bao suddenly felt sorry for her when she saw how lonely she looked. She hesitated for a few seconds, reached out and patted her on the shoulder. She said softly, Don't worry. Xiao Guai and I won't fight over your daddy. Just pretend you never heard about this. But you have to treat my mommy better in the future. Even if it's because she's been so nice to you, you have to treat her a little better. Xiao Yi hugged his knees tightly and curled himself into a ball. His clear eyes gradually became misty. He bit his lip tightly and held back the tears that were about to come. Bailey, I'm leaving. Don't pretend to be autistic. Hurry up and get better. Don't let your family worry anymore. Xiao Bao got up from the ground and looked down at him like an adult. How did you know I was pretending? Xiao Yi's voice was a little choked up. Xiao Bao rolled her eyes. Did you forget that I worked with you and asked you to pretend to be sick? Who knew that you were such a genius that you pretended to be autistic? Although you pretended to be autistic, I knew you had an ulterior motive. So, I observed you and found a small loophole. What loophole? It's because you treated me differently. Speaking of this, Xiao Bao became angry. The last time I brought Gigai to see you, you gave Gigai the pastry she liked, but you gave me the peanut butter that I hate. You must have done it on purpose. Which autistic child would be so scheming? Xiao Yi was silent. He was right. I did do it on purpose. Xiao Bao walked to the door and suddenly heard Xiao Yi's muffled voice from behind. Why is your mommy so nice to me? Xiao Bao blinked his large eyes. My mommy is kind. My mommy said that you are a child without a mommy. Although you have a bad temper, you are actually very pitiful. You yearn for a mother's love and friends, so she treats you very well. He snorted. She treats you so well that even I, her biological son, am jealous. Xiao Bao spoke casually, but Xiao Yi listened attentively. His body stiffened and his heart started to beat wildly. A bold idea popped into his mind. He was so excited that his voice trembled. Xiao Bao, is it possible that she is actually my mommy too? Xiao Bao's delicate eyebrows shot up. He widened his eyes and said angrily, What do you mean? Are you trying to steal my mommy? Roared this damn annoying person. Did he eat a leopard's guts? No. Little Wingzy abruptly sat up, his eyes flashing with fanaticism. How old are you? When is your birthday? Xiao Bao's eyes narrowed. Same as you. 4.5 years old. My birthday is on the 6th of February. Xiao Yi suddenly rushed over and placed both hands on his shoulders. Isn't it obvious? We were both born on the same day. She cares about me and even took a bullet for me. If she isn't my mommy, why would she do that? What did you say? My mommy took a bullet for you? Xiao Bao was shocked. His eyes widened in disbelief. No, that's impossible, Xiao Yi nodded vigorously. When we were kidnapped, she stopped the kidnappers from hurting me many times. Also, I keep feeling that there's something wrong with the way she looks at me. It's like she's very sad. No, I don't believe it. Xiao Bao had always believed that Bailey Han abandoned his mommy and had Bailey Yi with another woman. Now that the plot had been reversed, it was destroying his belief. Xiao Bao violently pushed Xiao Yi away. It was as if he was being chased by a ferocious beast. He ran out of his room in a panic. Xiao Yi stared blankly at the empty doorway. After the shock and excitement, it was followed by endless pain. His little face was filled with grief. If she really was his mommy, why would she abandon him? What? Xiao Bao, what's wrong? Xia Dong suddenly stood up from the sofa. She looked in shock at Xiao Bao, who was running down the stairs. His handsome little face was covered in tears. Xiao Bao threw himself at her. She quickly bent down and picked him up. Baby, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Quick, tell mommy. Xiao Bao looked at her anxious expression and burst into tears. She had never seen him cry so sadly. Her heart ached as well. She stroked his weak back to comfort him. Baby, it's okay. It's okay. Mommy is here. Mommy will take you home. She lovingly kissed her son's forehead. Ignoring the servant's curious gazes, she smiled apologetically at the butler. I'm sorry. Baby isn't feeling well. I'll take him home first. The butler thought that Xiao Bao had an argument with his young master. He bowed politely. Miss Xia, young master Qi, please take care. Xia Dong carried her son and left. She didn't know that Xiao Yi was standing at the top of the stairs, looking at their backs with an expressionless face. Xiao Bao curled up in her arms. He was crying so hard that his tears soaked her clothes. She placed him in the front passenger seat. She pulled out a tissue and gently wiped the tears from his face. She said gently, Baby, tell mommy what happened. Xiao Bao gradually stopped crying. He raised his little face. His large eyes were still filled with tears. Mommy, is Xiao Yi also your child? Ad Hongcha 866. Chapter 155. Xiao Bao gradually stopped sobbing. He lifted his little face and his big eyes were still filled with tears. Mommy, is Xiao Yi your child too? Xia Dong's breathing instantly stopped. Her beautiful eyes were instantly filled with shock. She fiercely pinched her palm before she found her voice again. Xiao Bao, why would you have such a strange thought? Then why did you take the bullet for him? Xiao Bao's face was filled with grief and indignation. Xia Dong pursed her lips and tried to calm herself down. He's a child and mommy is an adult. It's normal for adults to protect children. Is that really the case? His dark eyes stared straight at her as if he wanted to look into the depths of her heart. Of course. Why would mommy lie to you? Xia Dong laughed dryly and patted his head. Don't let your imagination run wild. Let's go home. She started the car and looked straight ahead. She focused on driving as if nothing had happened. Xiao Bao's heart was filled with suspicion. He was not a 3-year-old child who could be fooled so easily. He had caught his mommy's flash of panic just now. He would definitely find out the truth. It was midsummer and the weather could change at any moment. It was a poisonous day when they left the old Bailey mansion. They had just reached the foot of the mountain when it suddenly started raining heavily. The rain splashed against the car window. Xia Dong slowed down the car and glanced sideways at Xiao Bao, who was staring out the window in a daze. Baby, did Xiao Yi speak today? Xiao Bao had already begun to suspect that his mommy was also Bailey Yi's mommy. When he heard that she was concerned about him, the suspicion in his heart intensified. He was very upset and said angrily, She did. It's a good thing that she spoke. Xia Dong smiled, but then she thought about how Xiao Bao ran down the stairs crying. Could it be that even Xiao Yi knew? Worry surfaced in her heart again. Her phone suddenly rang. It was a call from Mika Kito. Hello, Brother Shin. Mika Kito stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window in the office and looked at the pouring rain outside. Her expression was a little heavy. Are you home now? It's raining heavily outside. Not yet. We just reached the foot of the mountain in the villa area. Brother Shin, is something the matter? Xiaodong noticed that his tone was a little heavy. Mikakito rubbed her eyebrows. Something happened in Japan. I need to go back to deal with it. Xiaodong frowned. What's going on? Is it serious? Sumiyoshi Kai and Inagawa Kai have recently stolen a lot of Yamaguchi-gumi's business. I heard that Inagawa Kai has also smuggled a large number of drugs from Vietnam. They want to invade Yamaguchi-gumi's sphere of influence. The Sumiyoshi Kai and the Inagawa Kai were the two major Japanese gangs, second only to the Yamaguchi-gumi. The three gangs were harmonious on the surface, but in fact there were undercurrents and constant struggles. They must have known that the leader of Yamaguchi-gumi was not in the Japanese headquarters, so they took the opportunity to seize territory. Mikakito felt that drugs were too harmful, so she hated them very much. In her sphere of influence, the sale of drugs was prohibited. Mikakito was aiming at this fat piece of meat and wanted to introduce drugs to her. Xiaodong quickly understood the seriousness of the matter and said, Brother Shin, have you booked the plane tickets? When do you plan to go back? I'll rush back tonight. I'll ask Lu Xing to stay and protect you. Mikakito had already asked Jiang Dao to pack his luggage and leave it in the office. After he settled the company's matters, he would take a plane back to Japan. Okay, Brother Shin. You have to take care of yourself. Don't let yourself get hurt, okay? Mikakito smiled, and her eyes were filled with tenderness. I know. You have to take care of yourself too. Take good care of the children and wait for me to come back. I know. Xiaodong listened to him say a few more words and handed the earpiece to Xiao Bao. Baby, Uncle Shen has something to say to you. Uncle Shen, are you going back to Japan? Xiao Bao put on the earpiece, puffed up his cheeks and said, When will you come back? Half a month at least, and a month at most. I'll be back as soon as possible. Mikakito said softly, Xiao Bao, you're already a man. You have to listen to mommy and take good care of Gigai, okay? Okay, I know. I'll also look after mom and not let her run around, lest she gets into trouble again. His voice was young, but his expression was serious. He looked like a little old man. The corners of Beitang Shin's lips curled up. He was half joking and half serious. If other men approach her, remember to chase them away. Xiao Bao nodded seriously. Yes, that's right. Before Mikakito left, she had already arranged everything. She was worried that Xiaodong would tire herself out, so she specially hired a nanny. In addition to Lu Xing, who was ordered to protect her, there was also a female bodyguard named Suzaku who rushed over from Japan to protect them. Suzaku arrived in China the next morning. She was very beautiful, charming, and gorgeous, but it was a pity that she had a cold expression on her face, as if someone owed her a lot of money. Xiaodong joked in Japanese, Suzaku, I just found out that Yamaguchi-gumi has such a beautiful bodyguard like you. Suzaku replied in Chinese, Strictly speaking, I'm not a member of Yamaguchi-gumi. I just signed an agreement with Mikakito and worked for him. Oh, I see. Xiaodong nodded in understanding. Suddenly, her eyes narrowed. You're from China? Yes. Suzaku was a woman of few words. Miss Ya, if there's nothing else, I'll go out first. Okay, thank you for your hard work. I'll prepare a room for you. Xiaodong lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. She planned to let Xiao Guai sleep with her and leave Xiao Guai's room for Suzaku. As for Lu Xing, she would let him do whatever he wanted after work. Xiaodong had been unkind for a long time. No, I have a house in a city. Suzaku had a villa in a city before she was sent to Japan by Mikakito. It was obvious that being a killer was a high-risk, high-income profession. The rain didn't stop until evening. Bailey Han drove back to the old house. Immediately, a servant was waiting for him at the gate with an umbrella. As soon as he opened the car door, the servant held the umbrella and said with a smile, Young master, you're finally back. Little master is speaking. A look of surprise flashed across Bailey Han's eyes. He quickened his pace and walked to the living room. As soon as he reached the door of the living room, he heard the old lady's laughter and Xiao Yi's clear and tender voice. He seemed to be telling a joke, which made the old lady laugh. Bailey Xiong and Bai Jinxiu were also sitting in the living room with smiles on their faces. The servant took off his wet coat and hung it on the floor hanger. Bai Jinxiu smiled and said, Ahan, you're back at the right time. Come and listen to Xiao Yi's joke. It made the old lady very happy. That's right. Come and listen too. The old lady wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. No one could tell if they were tears of laughter or tears of joy. Daddy, you're back. Xiao Yi stood up from the sofa and greeted him Gigai. Bailey Han patted his head, picked him up and put him on his lap. What joke is Xiao Yi telling? Tell it to Daddy too. Okay. His beautiful eyes curved. But Daddy, I have a condition. If I can make you laugh, you have to promise me one thing. You've learned to negotiate with Daddy? Bailey Han's eyes were smiling. His cold and handsome face seemed to soften a lot. He ruffled his hair. Let's hear it. He pursed his lips and his dark eyes were filled with anticipation. Daddy, I want to thank Chief Editor Xia in person. I know that she took good care of me when I was sick. The old lady's expression changed. She wanted to say something, but in the end she held back. Bailey Xiong and his wife's expressions were also a little ugly. Bailey Han's lips curved. You should thank her, but I can only make a decision after I hear your joke. Little Wingsy's eyebrows also curved as he began to tell a lively joke. The joke itself was not very funny, but when paired with his rich facial expressions, it seemed particularly funny. Bailey Han looked at his little face brimming with smiles. That pair of eyes that were as bright as the stars made him smile from the bottom of his heart. He realized that after his son fell ill, he had become a little different. His expression had become richer and he smiled more often. He enjoyed the change in his son. Before going to bed, Bailey Han went to Xiao Yi's room. He was already asleep. His small body lay on the bed and only took up a small space. He didn't seem to be sleeping very well and his brows were slightly furrowed. Bailey Han reached out and smoothed out the wrinkles between his brows. He gently stroked his cheek. Just as he retracted his hand and stood up, he suddenly heard Xiao Yi's sleep-talking voice. Mommy, don't go, don't abandon me. Bailey Han's breath stopped. When he came out of his son's room, he was in a terrible mood. He remembered that 4.5 years ago, the old madam had brought little Wingsy to him and told him that he had a child with a woman. At that time he had been shocked and at a loss. He tried hard to recall what the woman who had given birth to his child looked like, but he could not recall. When Xiao Yi was 2 years old, he asked him where his mommy was. He couldn't answer, so he could only tell Xiao Yi the answer that the old lady told him. He said that his mommy was already dead. Xiao Yi didn't believe him. He said that his mommy wasn't dead. She just went somewhere far away. He even cried and asked him for his mommy. He was so angry that he hit Xiao Yi for the first time. Bailey Han didn't expect that Xiao Yi still didn't want to believe that his mommy was already dead. Sitting on the deck chair on the balcony, he was exposed to the night sky that had been washed by the rain. The cool air seeped into his heart, and his irritated mood gradually calmed down. However, he couldn't help but think of someone. His finger repeatedly scrolled through the contact list on his phone. He was hesitant. What was she doing at this time? Was she with Mikakito? Bailey Han rubbed his brows. He persuaded himself that he called her for business. He just wanted to tell her that Xiao Yi wanted to see her. Hello, Bailey Han? Her voice was very soft and comfortable to listen to. Add Xingwu 799. Chapter 156. He paused. Xiaodong, Xiao Yi is willing to talk. She smiled happily. Congratulations. He smiled. I'm very grateful for everything you've done. Xiao Yi is also very grateful. He wants to thank you in person. When are you free? I'd like to treat you to a meal. Well, Xiaodong glanced at the little guys who were playing games on the sofa. It's okay. We didn't do anything. His voice was low. Don't misunderstand. I don't mean anything else. If Mr. Beitang is willing to come, I'd be honored. Xiaodong knew that he had misunderstood. She quickly said, No, Brother Shin went to Japan. He won't have any objections. I just don't think there's a need. She slapped her forehead gloomily. Xiao Bao was already suspicious. Maybe Xiao Yi was also suspicious. She just wanted to fade out of Xiao Yi's sight temporarily. I insist. Xiaodong, don't reject me. He was like a supreme king announcing his decision. I'll pick you and the children up at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. But beep beep. The call ended. Xiaodong held her forehead helplessly. He was too domineering. She hadn't even finished speaking. Bailey Han knew that old madam didn't like Xiaodong, so he specially arranged for the banquet to be held in his villa to avoid awkwardness for Xiaodong. Although he and Xiao Yi hadn't returned to the villa for a long time, the servants still cleaned the place every day. It was spotless. When they returned, they didn't feel uncomfortable at all. According to his instructions, the butler added a rocking chair, hanging basket, seesaw, and other children's play facilities in the garden. In just one afternoon, the butler led the servants to decorate the villa's outdoor balcony into a Caribbean-style banquet venue. Under the blue sky and white clouds, the golden sunset covered the entire open-air balcony with a layer of faint radiance. Tall palm trees, coconut trees, and date trees exuded the unique fragrance of trees and fruits. Under the parasols, there were a few white reclining chairs placed side by side. The ground was covered with a layer of fine and soft white sand, which was said to be specially transported from overseas beaches. Not far away there was a barbecue rack. A foreign chef in a chef's uniform had already started barbecuing the meat. The fresh meat sizzled on the barbecue rack, and the aroma of the meat permeated the air. A violinist stood by the railing, his back facing the setting sun as he played a melodious tune. Bailey Han was wearing a white tuxedo, and Xiaoyi was also wearing a white suit. When the father and son stood together, they looked exactly the same and were both extraordinarily handsome. Everything was so charming. The moment Xia Dong and the children stepped onto the balcony, they were immediately mesmerized. Xiao Guai's little face was red with excitement. He covered his face and screamed, "It's so beautiful! Mommy, it's exactly like the beach." Xiao Bao didn't say anything, but from his sparkling eyes, it was obvious that he liked it. Xia Dong smiled faintly. "It's very beautiful. We like it very much." She was wearing a bohemian-style long dress. It was sleeveless and cinched at the waist, and the hem of the dress flowed elegantly. It was extremely compatible with the sunny beach. A gentle breeze blew and lifted her long hair. She raised her chin slightly, feeling the comfort of the breeze. Her side profile looked tranquil and beautiful under the sunlight. She smiled. "Bailey Han, I also brought a guest over. I hope you don't mind." The guest Xia Dong was talking about was Suzaku, who was standing behind her. She didn't want to let Suzaku follow them, but she insisted. She said that it was Mika Kito's orders. She had to follow them when they went out, even when they went to buy groceries. Bailey Han raised his eyebrows in surprise. "Suzaku? I didn't expect you to work for Mika Kito now." Suzaku was expressionless. "I admit defeat." Bailey Han's thin lips curved. "Your master ordered you to follow Xia Dong at all times, including when she goes on dates?" Suzaku glanced at him indifferently. "Mika Kito is worried that someone has kidnapped Miss Xia." Xia Dong wiped her sweat and quickly smiled. "Suzaku, since you're here, don't just stand there. Do whatever you like. I think Mr. Bailey won't mind, okay?" She looked at Bailey Han for help. Bailey Han shrugged. "Of course he won't mind. Miss Suzaku, please make yourself at home." The last golden ray of the setting sun slid past the horizon. They were either lying or sitting on the beach, enjoying the delicious food and listening to the melodious music. It was as if they could hear the sound of the waves. The cool breeze blew gently and it was extremely comfortable. Bailey Han held orange juice in one hand and red wine in the other. He sat on the recliner beside her and handed her the orange juice. There was a gentle smile on his face. "Let me toast to you. Thank you for taking care of Xiaoyi these days. You can't drink alcohol, so orange juice can replace it." "I didn't do anything. You don't have to be so polite." Xia Dong clinked her glass with his and smiled as she took a sip of the orange juice in her glass. Bailey Han tilted his head and looked at the three little rascals playing in the rocking chairs in the distance. He chuckled and said, "They are getting along very well now. I'm very happy that they have become friends. There is a kind of friend that is called, no discord, no concord. Xiaoyi and Xiaobao are like that." Xia Dong looked at them laughing and her heart softened. Her eyes were as bright as the stars and there was a charming smile on her face. Bailey Han's gaze fell on her. She was very beautiful when she smiled. Her eyes were curved like beautiful crescent moons. Her eyes were clean and clear without any impurities. Her happiness seemed to be very simple. As long as the children were happy, she would be happy too. She was very rational when she was working, but sometimes she would be silly when facing him. He couldn't help but want to get closer to her. Xia Dong received his passionate gaze. She touched her hair uncomfortably and smiled. "I'm going to see the children." She put down her glass and got up to leave. He suddenly grabbed her wrist. Her body stiffened and she didn't dare to look back. His voice was low and hoarse. "Xia Dong, who is the father of the children? Is it Mika Kito?" Xia Dong lowered her head. "Is the answer very important?" "It's very important to me." If it was Mika Kito, then he had no chance at all. He waited for her verdict. His heart was thumping. She closed her eyes and said slowly, "No." His throat bobbed. "Then who is it?" "He's no longer around." He tightened his grip on her wrist and pulled her into a warm embrace. Suzaku, who was sitting at the side quietly eating barbecued meat, put down her plate and stood up vigilantly. Her sharp eyes stared at Bailey Han. If he did anything out of line, she would not hesitate to take action. Bailey Han ignored her and said in a low voice, "Who is the father of the children you're carrying now?" Xiaodong smiled. "This time it's Mikakito." "No, I don't believe it." He pinched her chin and forced her to look into his eyes. His eyes were dark and deep, just like the sky before a storm. He lowered his voice with a hint of anticipation. "We've done it twice in total. I didn't use any protection on both occasions." She interrupted him. "No, it's not yours." The blood drained from his face. All his fantasies were shattered. She laughed self-deprecatingly. "That's right. What you're seeing now is the real me. I'm a promiscuous woman who's two-timing. You can use any word you like. Stop talking." He suddenly covered her mouth. There was a cold anger in his eyes. "I'm too stupid. This matter ends here." He used so much strength that it hurt her face. However, she did not make a sound or struggle. She only looked at him quietly. Her pair of clear and bright eyes were devoid of sorrow, joy, anger, and displeasure. His heart was filled with grief and indignation. Why did he still have hope? Why did he end up humiliating himself? Suzaku said coldly, "Bailey Han, let go of Miss Xia. You're not allowed to bully my mommy. Let go of her." Xiaobao realized that there was something wrong with the adults here. She jumped down from the rocking chair and rushed over without thinking. She kicked Bailey Han's long legs fiercely. Bailey Han slowly released his hand. His face was dark as he left the balcony without a word. He was in a terrible mood and needed to be alone to get some fresh air. With the crisis resolved, Suzaku sat down and continued to enjoy the food and wine. "Mom, are you alright?" Xiaobao nudged Xiaodong, who was frozen on the spot, worriedly. "I'm fine." Xiaodong revealed a smile and sat down on the rocking chair. Xiao Yi also ran over and pointed at the fruit platter on the table. "Chief Editor Xia, the servants just delivered these fruits. What do you like to eat? I'll get it for you." He looked so cute in his white suit. Xiaodong couldn't help but pat his head. She smiled and said, "Thank you, Xiao Yi, but there's no need. I'm already full." "Brother, come over quickly. There's a little bug on the rocking chair. I don't dare to get down." Xiao Bao and Xiao Yi both ran away, leaving Xiao Guai alone on the rocking chair. She cried out pitifully, "Gigai, don't be afraid. I'll be right there." Xiao Bao ran away quickly. Xiaodong stood up and wanted to follow, but Xiao Yi suddenly grabbed her finger. There was a sweet smile on her little face. "Chief Editor Xia, I see a strand of white hair on your head. Can I pluck it out for you?" "Ah? White hair?" Xiaodong was shocked. Was she that old? "Yes, Auntie. You're a little shorter. I'll pluck it out for you." Xiaodong glanced at the rocking chair. Xiao Bao should have already removed the bug. Xiao Guai jumped down from the rocking chair. The siblings walked over hand in hand. "Okay. Then I'll have to trouble you." Xiaodong squatted down and lowered her head. She felt a pair of small hands caress her hair. Then she felt a sudden pain. "Are you done?" she asked. "Yes, I'm done." Xiao Yi quickly plucked it out and put it in his pocket. She looked up. "Xiao Yi, let me see." Xiao Yi had already taken out a strand of white hair from his other pocket. He handed it to her. Actually, he picked it up from his great-grandmother's room. Attention Hongcha 866. Chapter 157. My hair is really white. Am I really that old? Xiaodong was very sad. She was clearly not even 30 years old yet, sob. "Mommy, why are you squatting on the ground?" Xiao Bao walked over with Xiao Guai and asked curiously. "Bao Bao Gigai, Mommy's hair is already white. If Mommy becomes an old woman, will you still love Mommy?" Xiaodong hugged her children sadly and rubbed against them. Xiao Bao's face turned green. "Mom, it's normal to have white hair. Look at the young man's white hair. He's still a teenager and he already has white hair. It's your fault for overusing your brain. When we go back, I'll research a diet to nourish you. I'm sure you'll be rejuvenated." "Well, that's true. But you haven't answered my question. When I become an old woman, will you despise me? Will you be like those unfilial children in the news and chase old grandpas and grandpas out of the house?" Xiaodong seized the opportunity to instill the traditional virtues of filial piety. Xiao Bao rolled his eyes. "Mom, I told you it's not good to watch too much TV. Look at you. You're still young and you're already suffering from paranoia. How scary." Xiao Guai's soft body wriggled in Xiaodong's arms. "Mommy, don't worry. Even if you become an old woman, my brother and I won't despise you." Xiaodong was so happy that her eyes turned into crescents. Xiao Yi was almost petrified. Was this childlike woman really Xiao Xiaobao and Xiao Guai's mommy? And could she really be their mommy? He couldn't help but touch the hair hidden in his pocket. It would only take a week for the paternity test results to come out and he would know the answer. Bailey Han went downstairs to the living room. He leaned on the sofa and rubbed his brows. Suddenly, the landline beside him rang. As soon as he picked up the call, old Madame Gu's unhappy voice came through. Han, you're in such a hurry to move back to the villa with Xiao Yi because you want to invite Xia Dong to a banquet, right? Grandma Xia Dong has helped us a lot. You also agreed to let Xiao Yi thank her in person. Madame Dowager said angrily, I agreed, but I meant to invite her to the old mansion and make it clear in front of the whole family. Now you've secretly invited her to your house. If Yunqian finds out, what will she think? Bailey Han pressed his throbbing veins. Grandma, I've already broken up with Yunqian. No matter what I do in the future, I don't have to care about what she thinks. Break up? When did this happen? The old madam was shocked and angry. It's been more than half a month. The sound of something breaking came from the other end of the phone. Old madam was so angry that she was trembling all over. Bailey Han, you've grown up and I can't control you anymore, right? Why are you only telling me such an important thing now? Bailey Han held his forehead. Grandma, don't be so agitated. I just think that this is between me and her. There's no need for you to worry about it. Is this between the two of you? This is between the Bailey family and the Su family. Bailey Han, go back to the old mansion immediately and make things clear. Bailey Han lowered his voice. Grandma, I still have guests now. I'll go back early tomorrow morning, okay? No, you have to come back now. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. It's because of Xia Dong that you've become like this. I'm telling you, you're not allowed to have any contact with her in the future. Come back quickly. Grandma, Bailey Han still wanted to persuade her, but Madame Dowager clutched her chest and cried out in pain. Bailey Han, you unfilial grandson. Are you trying to anger me to death? Ouch, my chest hurts so much. Bailey Han had a headache. Okay, I got it. Grandma, don't hurt anymore. I'll go back as soon as possible. Madame Dowager was the absolute leader in the family. No one dared to disobey her, including Bailey Han, who was very filial to her. Bailey Han returned to the balcony. Xia Dong was playing games with the children. When she saw him, she got up and said goodbye. It's getting late. I should go back. He nodded. I'll send you down. Watching the BMW disappear into the night, Bailey Han squatted down and patted Xiao Yi's head. Xiao Yi, I'm going to the old mansion to visit great-grandma. Go to bed early. Daddy, I want to go with you. I miss great-grandma and grandma too. Xiao Yi saw that his expression was serious. She had a premonition that something was going to happen, so she wanted to go with him. Bailey Han knew that a storm was coming for him. He didn't want his son to be affected. Xiao Yi, Daddy has something to deal with when he goes back. Gigai, stay at home. I'll take you back tomorrow, okay? Xiao Yi and Gigai nodded. After Bailey Han left, Xiao Yi ran into the living room to check the caller ID on the landline. She asked the butler, Grandpa Butler, did my great-grandma call just now? Otherwise, Daddy wouldn't have suddenly suggested going back to the old mansion. They had just moved back from the old mansion this morning. Yes, little master. What did they talk about? Xiao Yi's big eyes were filled with eagerness and anticipation. Grandpa Butler, you were in the living room just now. You must have heard it, right? This. The butler wiped the sweat from his forehead. He couldn't speak carelessly. Grandpa Butler, just tell me, okay? Xiao Yi suddenly hugged the butler's leg. She raised her little face and looked at him with a pair of big eyes. She imitated Xiao Bao's cute expression perfectly. Little master. The butler was in tears. Who could tell him why the usually mature and calm little master suddenly became a cute little cutie? In the end, the old butler, who liked children, couldn't resist Xiao Yi's cute tactics. He wiped his sweat and said, Old Madam and Elder Master were talking about Miss Su. It seems that Elder Master and Miss Su broke up. The old butler didn't dare to say anything else. What welcomed Bailey Han was a storm. As soon as he stepped into the living room of the old mansion, he felt the suffocating pressure in the living room. The whole family stared at him with dark faces. Old Madam stabbed the floor with her walking stick. Han, tell me, why did you break up with Yunqian? We're not compatible. After all, Su Yunqian was the woman he had loved for many years. Even if she had made a mistake, he didn't want his family to hate her, so he didn't tell them the real reason. Not compatible? Bai Jinxiu couldn't help but raise her voice. You've been together for 6 years. You betrayed her back then and had Xiao Yi with another woman. Not only did she not break up with you, but she also magnanimously helped you get back on your feet. Don't you remember? Now you want to break up with her because of a simple, "we're not compatible"? How can you face her? Bailey Han's eyes darkened. A few years ago he had a car accident. Not only did he lose his memory but his legs were also seriously injured. He almost couldn't stand up. It was Yun Xian who accompanied him for 6 months of rehabilitation before he could stand up again. In the bottom of his heart he was full of gratitude and trust for her. It was because of his deep love that he blamed her. When he found out that his perfect lover had become a woman full of lies and unscrupulous in order to achieve her goals, his heart hurt more than anyone else. He was silent. Bailey Xiong was furious. He slammed the table and scolded sternly, "An, how can you face the Su family by doing this? What will outsiders think of the Bailey family?" Bailey Han's heart sank. He stared sharply at his father. "Others can blame me but you don't have the right to do so. The one who humiliated the Bailey family is not me, Bailey Han, but you. Back then, who didn't know that the young master of the Bailey family had a mistress outside and even brought his illegitimate child home? Even now, Lu Xiaoxiao was still living in the villa he bought for her. You unfilial son." Bailey Xiong was so angry that his blood pressure rose. He pointed at him with a trembling finger. "I'm telling you, as long as I'm alive, you must marry Yun Qian." "Impossible." Bailey Han spat out these 3 words coldly. The elders were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. The old madam tried to suppress her anger. She raised her hand to stop Bailey Xiong from continuing. Her eyes were as sharp as knives. She stared at Bailey Han. "Han, tell me honestly. Did you break up with Yun Qian because of Xiaodong?" "No, this has nothing to do with her," Bailey Han said calmly. "Grandma, she's an outsider. Don't drag her into this." The old madam sneered. "An outsider? Han, I watched you grow up. You can't hide from my eyes. I know how special you are to her. I'll make it clear today. Even if you break up with Yun Qian, don't even think about marrying Xiaodong. As long as I'm alive, don't even think about it." Bailey Han's face darkened. He wanted to ask why everyone in the family hated Xiaodong so much, but he held back. If he brought the topic to Xiaodong now, it would only bring her trouble. He insisted on breaking up with Su Yun Qian. It had nothing to do with outsiders. The old madam said coldly, "Don't give me perfunctory words like unsuitable. Tell me honestly, why did you break up with Yun Qian?" Bailey Han frowned. "Grandma, I've already made it very clear. If you don't have anything else to say, I'll go back first. Xiaoyi is still waiting for me at home. Don't you dare leave." The old madam stood up angrily, picked up the walking stick and hit him. "I'll kill you, you heartless thing. Yun Qian has been with you for so many years. Even if she didn't make any contributions, she still worked hard. How can you be so heartless?" Bailey Han nimbly avoided her attack. He was extremely irritated. He didn't expect to face such a big resistance when breaking up with Su Yun Qian. The old madam missed every hit. Instead, she was so tired that she panted. She covered her chest and cried out in pain, "Ouch, my chest hurts." "Mom, don't be agitated. Sit down." Bailey Xiong hurriedly supported her. Bai Jinxiu asked the servant to bring the medicine and helped the old madam take it. Bailey Han saw that she didn't seem to be pretending and became anxious. He quickly went forward and rubbed her back. "Grandma, how are you? Do you feel better?" Welfare Xinwu 799. Chapter 158. The old madam took a deep breath and slapped him on the arm. Tears streamed down her face. "You brat, why are you always so worrisome? I thought that you would be more mature now that you're a father, but you still did something so infuriating." "Grandma, don't be agitated. Be careful not to hurt your body. If you're angry, take it out on me. I'm thick-skinned, so I'm not afraid of being hit." Bailey Han caressed her back and coaxed her. The old madam huffed. "What's the point of hitting you? If you really want to appease my anger, apologize to Yun Qian and reconcile with her quickly." Great-grandma, grandpa, grandma, daddy? No one noticed that Xiaoyi had suddenly appeared at the door of the living room. "Baby, why are you here?" The old madam quickly waved her hand. Xiaoyi walked in front of her and looked up pitifully. "Great-grandma, don't blame my daddy." "Baby, great-grandma isn't blaming your daddy. I'm just discussing something with him." The old madam carried him onto her lap and stroked his head. "How did you get here?" "I asked the chauffeur uncle to send me here. Great-grandma, I suddenly thought of something, so I came over. You won't blame me, right?" Xiaoyi leaned his head into her arms and said crisply, "Oh, you mischievous boy. How dare you come out of the house alone? Aren't you worried that great-grandma will blame you? Now you know how to worry. Her beloved great-grandson was acting coquettishly in the old madam's arms. Her anger subsided a lot. She pinched his soft cheeks and said, "What did you think of that made you come over?" Xiaoyi looked at the old madam innocently with his big eyes. His little face puffed up slightly, making him look very lovable. "I was thinking about how I rolled down the stairs that night." The old madam was shocked. "What happened?" Xiaoyi paused and said, "I accidentally heard Auntie Yunqian talking to someone on the phone. The other party seemed to be called Godfather. That night, I went up the stairs with Auntie Yunqian and I asked her who Godfather was. Auntie Yunqian seemed to be in a panic. She told me not to talk nonsense. I lied to her. I said I knew who the Godfather was and she pushed me down the stairs." Xiao Yi's face was full of fear, and her small body trembled. She hugged the old madam's waist in fear. "Great-grandmother, I'm so scared." The old madam was shocked. She hugged him tightly and patted his back. "Xiaoyi, did you make a mistake? Why would Yunqian push you down the stairs?" Xiaoyi suddenly raised her head. Her bright eyes were filled with tears and her face was full of fear. "Great-grandma, I didn't make a mistake. I didn't lie. She really pushed me down the stairs." "No, how could this be? How could this be?" The old madam couldn't believe it. Yunqian had always been good to Xiaoyi. How could she do such a thing? If someone else said it, she definitely wouldn't believe it. But Xiaoyi never lied. Bailey Han's feelings were very complicated. He had always wanted to find out the truth about Xiaoyi falling down the stairs. But when he found out the truth, his heart hurt more than anyone else. Bai Jinxiu and Bailey Xiong were also shocked. Bai Jinxiu shook her head. "I don't believe it. Xiaoyi, did you lie because you didn't want Yunqian to be your mommy?" "I didn't. Grandma, every word I said was the truth," Xiaoyi said angrily. Bailey Han rubbed his brows and said in a deep voice, "Mom, Xiaoyi didn't lie. That night, I heard Xiaoyi and Yunqian's conversation at the top of the stairs." "Did you also see Yunqian push Xiaoyi down the stairs?" Bai Jinxiu was very satisfied with Su Yunqian as her future daughter-in-law, so she naturally spoke up for her. "Also, who is the Godfather? Why did Yunqian panic when she heard his name? The whole thing is completely baffling. Mom, although I didn't see Yunqian push Xiaoyi down the stairs, I believe that Xiaoyi wouldn't lie." When Bailey Han looked at his mother now, it was as if he was looking at himself in the past. His bias towards Su Yunqian had already reached a terrifying level. "Mom, the Godfather is the middleman of a city's killer organization. Why did Yunqian panic when she heard his name? Why did Xiaoyi hear her talking to the Godfather? Isn't the information revealed clear enough?" Bailey Han didn't want to involve Xia Dong's matter. Bai Jinxiu still didn't want to believe it. Old madam's face turned pale. She was more rational than Bai Jinxiu and of course she thought more deeply than her. What else could a middleman of a killer organization do? It was either to reminisce about the past or to hire a killer. If it was the former, Yunqian didn't have to panic. If it was the latter, it proved that she wasn't as kind and virtuous as she appeared to be. Since she wasn't a kind person, it was very likely that she pushed Xiaoyi down the stairs to silence her. Old madam could accept that the woman in Bailey's family was ruthless. Otherwise, how could she support the whole Bailey's family? But she could only be ruthless to outsiders, not her own family. If Su Yunqian really did something to hurt Xiaoyi, then she couldn't enter Bailey's family. Old madam already had a plan in her heart, but she didn't rush to make a conclusion. She looked up at Bailey Han and asked, "Is this why you broke up with Yunqian?" Bailey Han didn't say anything, which was a tacit admission. Xiaoyi refused to let Su Yunqian off easily. He tugged at old madam's sleeve and said, "Great-grandma, I heard that Aunt Yunqian is pregnant. It's not daddy's child. Xiaoyi, don't talk nonsense." Bai Jinxiu scolded him harshly. "You're still a child. What do you mean by pregnant? Where did you hear it from? Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin Yunqian's reputation." "I'm not talking nonsense." Xiaoyi's eyes were filled with tears. He looked very pitiful. Old madam couldn't bear to see Xiaoyi sad. "Okay, Jinxiu, Xiaoyi is still a child. Just teach him well. Why are you shouting so loudly?" He touched Xiaoyi's head and said, "Xiaoyi, where did you hear it from?" "I heard Daddy and Aunt Yunqian quarreling that day," Xiaoyi said aggrievedly. Old madam's face darkened. "Han, what's going on?" Bailey Han was very helpless against his son's method of forcing a duck onto a perch. He had no choice but to tell them the truth. "This matter started 2 months ago. Actually, we didn't have sex. Her pregnancy was also fake." Bai Jinxiu had never heard anyone mention Su Yunqian's pregnancy until now. After hearing so much information all at once, she was shocked. Old Madame's heart became clear. Only then did she realize that Su Yunxian was not simple. She had said that she had a miscarriage at the hospital back then, probably to cover up the fake pregnancy. How dare you hide this kind of thing from me? Old Madame was disappointed in Bailey Han and even more disappointed in Su Yunxian. Bailey Han did not refute and said lightly, "Grandma, I've already made up my mind to break up with Yunxian. Don't force me anymore." Old Madame suddenly looked a lot older. She sighed. "Forget it. A forcibly picked melon won't be sweet. Let it be." Bailey Han frowned. "Mom, how are we going to explain this to the Su family?" Old Madame pinched the space between her eyebrows. "Ahan and Yunxian broke up half a month ago. The Su family hasn't said anything. I guess they don't know about Ahan's breakup either. Let's leave it at that for now. If the Su family really wants to fall out with us, we have nothing to be afraid of. After all, we're on the side of reason." After the storm, everyone except Xiao Yi looked a little tired. Bailey Han brought Xiao Yi back to the villa. The father and son did not speak along the way. The atmosphere in the car was tense. The driver was sweating profusely. He brought the young master back to the old mansion without the eldest young master's permission. Would he be punished? Fortunately, Bailey Han did not mention this. After getting out of the car, Bailey Han sent Xiao Yi back to the room. Xiao Yi sat at the head of the bed unhappily with a sullen face. Bailey Han squatted in front of him and asked, "Why are you unhappy?" He pouted. "Because Daddy is angry." "Daddy, are you angry because I said bad things about Auntie Yunxian in front of Great-Grandma?" "Daddy is not angry." Bailey Han did not know how to explain his complicated feelings to him. He could only say, "Auntie Yunxian might have done something wrong temporarily. If everyone knows that she did something wrong, she might never have the chance to change. I just don't want to see Great-Grandma blame Daddy." Xiao Yi's serious expression warmed Bailey Han's heart. He hugged his son tightly and said softly, "Daddy knows." Xiao Yi reached out and hugged him. After a moment of silence, he said, "Daddy, do you still remember what Mommy looks like?" Bailey Han paused. "I don't remember. Why are you suddenly asking about this?" Xiao Yi's mood suddenly fell. "Because I saw Xiao Bao and the others playing happily with Chief Editor Xia today." Bailey Han's body stiffened. He lied to him. Xiao Yi's mommy is a very gentle person. She loves Xiao Yi very much, just like Daddy. "Really?" Xiao Yi's big eyes welled up with tears. However, he buried his head in Bailey Han's chest and did not let him see it. "It's true." Bailey Han gently stroked his back. "Daddy, can you tell me how you met Mommy?" There was a hint of nervousness in his soft voice. Bailey Han smiled bitterly. Actually, he did not remember either. He could only change what old Madame had told him before and tell Xiao Yi. "Your mommy and I met at a bar. We fell in love at first sight and soon had you. But why don't you remember what Mommy looks like?" "I really want to know what Mommy looks like." Xiao Yi was very sad. He had never even seen his mommy's photo since he was young. Even when he dreamed of Mommy, he could not clearly see her face. "Daddy was once in a car accident and forgot a lot of things. He also forgot your mommy." "Xiao Yi, don't be sad. Daddy promises that he will love Xiao Yi even more in the future. Make up for your mommy's share, okay?" Bailey Han saw his son cry sadly and felt worse than being stabbed by needles. Xiao Yi choked and said, "Okay." Awesome novel Xinwu 799. Chapter 159. Xia Dong brought Xiao Guai to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor said that Xiao Guai's condition was still good and there was no further deterioration. This meant that the chemotherapy had temporarily controlled her condition. At the same time, he suggested that Xia Dong send the child to the hospital as soon as possible for easier treatment. Xia Dong planned to send Xiao Guai to the hospital for hospitalization after Mika Keto returned to China. The side effects of the chemotherapy on Xiao Guai were starting to show. When Xia Dong was combing her hair in the morning, she would secretly pinch a handful of hair that had fallen out behind her back and quietly throw it into the bottom of the trash can. After every chemotherapy session, Xiao Guai would be very tired. From the time she left the hospital until she got into the car, Xia Dong would always carry her and put her in the front passenger seat. She would fall asleep very quickly. Every time this happened, Xia Dong would feel very upset. She wished she could bear all the pain on behalf of her daughter. Xiao Guai fell asleep again. Her little face was abnormally pale, without a trace of blood. While waiting for the traffic light to turn green, Xia Dong took out a clean blanket and covered her body. After Xia Dong turned around, she inadvertently saw the car beside her. The driver was Lin Shihao. Beside him was a beautiful woman. The woman smiled and said something to him. Lin Shihao also smiled. Then the woman took a tissue and wiped his forehead. Her movements were natural and practiced. Lin Shihao calmly accepted it. Xia Dong frowned. They seemed to be very close. After returning home, she still could not forget that scene. After thinking for a long time, she decided to give Yi Siki a call. Easy, I went for a prenatal checkup today and realized that old Lin was not around. Didn't he go to work today? Yi Siki laughed. Yeah, you should have called him in advance. He went to a conference today. Just him alone? No, I heard from him that he went with a colleague. Xia Dong replied with an "oh," and teased, could it be a woman? Yi Siki smiled. He was with a female doctor. Old Lin said that she was his junior and had just returned from America not long ago. The director even specially instructed him to bring her out to see the world. Why is the dean involved again? You don't understand. Elder Lin's junior is the dean's daughter. Xia Dong said half-jokingly, the dean's daughter is beautiful and capable. Aren't you worried that she will fall for your husband? Yi Siki scoffed at her words. Old Lin tells me everything. Do you think I need to worry? Xia Dong smiled. I'm not asking you to suspect him. I just want you to be more careful. Even if Lin Shihao doesn't have any bad intentions, there are so many beautiful doctors in the obstetrics and gynecology department. Who knows if they will have any ideas? Don't worry. I have absolute faith in our old Lin. How many men like him can you find who would still give me a gift on Qing Festival after 7 years of marriage? Xia Dong smiled bitterly. You're right. I can't find many like that. Men these days would coax you nicely when they were dating, but after they married you, they would become a completely different person. Then that's it. Don't worry about us. You should think more about yourself. Yi Siki started to talk about the usual. Didn't Bailey Han treat you to a meal 2 days ago? How was it? Xia Dong rubbed her eyebrows. What do you mean by how was it? It was just like that. He didn't take the opportunity to confess. Can we not talk about this anymore? Xia Dong scratched the sofa. Yi Siki snorted. You didn't directly reject my question, so that means he confessed. Hurry up and tell me the truth. Xia Dong facepalmed. It's a loss for this industry if you don't become a paparazzi. Don't change the topic. Hurry up and tell me the truth. If you resist, you'll be severely punished. If you confess, you'll be lenient. All right. Xia Dong scratched her head. Actually, it wasn't really a confession. And it wasn't on the day he treated me to a meal. Io girl, can you please get to the point? Why are you dawdling? Xia Dong was speechless. My dear lady, you're really hard to please. All right, I'll tell you. When he was discharged from the hospital, tell me. Although she was just repeating Bailey Han's words, Xia Dong's face still started to burn. Yi Siki clicked her tongue and sighed. I told you that he was interested in you, but you didn't believe me. With your EQ, if you were really in a relationship, you'd be so anxious. If you like him, you like him. Why do you have to beat around the bush? She really thought too highly of Bailey Han. Xia Dong was speechless. Yi Siki sighed. Actually, I've always thought highly of Mikakito. Although he looks cold, he treats you and the children quite well. But the problem is that his profession is too dangerous. If you were to be with him, you'd be in a lot of danger. Comparing him to you, Bailey Han's advantages are obvious. Yi Siki didn't say anything else. She planned to change it to matchmaking Bailey Han and Xia Dong in the future. Xia Dong felt that she had failed. She had called Yi Siki to remind her to be more careful, but she didn't expect her relationship problems to be exposed. She quickly changed the topic. Your old Lin will be in the hospital tomorrow, right? I'll go for a prenatal checkup tomorrow. Yi Siki's long-winded speech was stopped by her. Although she didn't want to give up, she was afraid that if she said too much, Yi Siki would be annoyed. So, she followed her lead and said, yes, old Lin will go to the hospital tomorrow. Xia Dong heard the ringtone and said, Easy, I have another call coming in. I'll hang up first. Okay. Call me if you need anything. Xia Dong ended the call with Yi Siki and answered Bailey Yun's call. Fox, what's the matter? Bailey Yun's voice was a little low. Xia, I want to meet you. Sure. You can decide the time and place. I know you have to take care of the children. I'll come to your place tonight. I'll call you when I arrive. Bailey Yun sounded a little off. Xia Dong was worried and asked a few more questions. He said that it was fine and that they would meet again tonight. Who would have thought that in the evening, it would start to drizzle? Xia Dong called Bailey Yun but no one picked up. She walked to the window from time to time and looked out. She lived on the 5th floor and the window faced the neighborhood so she could see everything clearly. After about half an hour, a Lamborghini slowly drove into the neighborhood. Xiaodong had already changed her clothes. She said a few words to the children and went downstairs with her phone and umbrella. Before she entered the elevator, she received a call from Bai Liyun. "Xiaxia, I'm at your place. Come down." "Okay. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going into the elevator." She walked out of the door and saw him standing in the rain without an umbrella. The rain fell on him sporadically. She quickened her pace and walked over to him. She held the umbrella over his head and said, "It's raining. Why didn't you wait in the car?" His hair was already wet. His handsome face was also covered with rain. His charming fox eyes were slightly narrowed as he stared straight at her. "What's wrong?" Xiaodong felt uncomfortable being stared at by him. He smiled and chuckled. "I'll take you somewhere." "Okay." Xiaodong followed him into the car and handed him a tissue. "Wipe your face. You're all wet." Bai Liyun took the tissue and wiped his face casually. The Lamborghini slowly drove out of the neighborhood. After driving for more than 10 minutes, it stopped on the road near the man-made lake. "We're here." Bai Liyun suddenly leaned over. His handsome face was getting closer and closer to her. She grabbed the seat belt awkwardly. He chuckled. "I'll help you unbuckle your seat belt. I can do it myself." Xiaodong quickly unbuckled her seat belt and got out of the car. Bai Liyun walked to her side and held her hand. Without looking at her, he said softly, "The steps are slippery. Be careful." Xiaodong was too embarrassed to push his hand away. The man-made lake wasn't very big. There was a pavilion beside it. When Xiaodong got closer, she realized that there were dozens of lotus lanterns floating in the lake. All of the lotus lanterns were gathered in the shape of a heart. Although the rain wasn't heavy, there was wind. The wind blew the candles in the lotus lanterns until the flames flickered, but none of them went out. "Did you light all these lanterns yourself?" He nodded and asked with a chuckle, "Do they look good?" "Yes, but why did you light so many lanterns?" Xiaodong was still wondering why he was so wet when the rain wasn't heavy. It turned out that he had lit the lanterns in the rain earlier. Bai Liyun's face twitched uncontrollably. He reached out and knocked on her forehead. "I beg of you. Can't you be a little more romantic?" Xiaodong rubbed her forehead innocently. "It's not that I'm not romantic. It's just that I find it strange. It's not like today is a special day." By the lake, the night was cold. In the lake, the candlelight flickered and the waves were beautiful. They stood in the pavilion, quietly looking at the lake and the candlelight. He suddenly reached out his arm and turned her shoulder around. His eyes looked at her seriously, as if he wanted to see into her heart. She was a little flustered. Bai Liyun held her shoulders with a serious expression. "Xiaodong, I love you." He thought about what Xiao Tianxing said for a long time. In the end, he decided to stake everything on one throw to let her understand his feelings. "I love you." This was the first time someone had confessed to her in such a clear and straightforward manner, but she was still extremely flustered. "Fox, don't joke around." His fingers gripped her shoulders so tightly that they hurt. His voice was serious and urgent. "I'm not joking. Xiaodong, I've liked you for 5 years." Her heart trembled. She bit her lip and didn't dare to look into his eyes. He waited anxiously for her to speak. After a long time, Xiaodong finally said the 3 words that he didn't want to hear the most. "I'm sorry." His heart, which had been in his throat, suddenly fell to the bottom of the valley and shattered into pieces. After a long time he found his voice again. It was bitter and hoarse. "Why?" Xiaodong smiled bitterly. "Look, I already have 2 children and I'm pregnant with a 3rd. You, on the other hand, are handsome, rich and charming. We're not compatible at all." The light in his eyes disappeared. He stared at her flat stomach in disbelief. "Why, you're pregnant?" Awesome novel Hongcha 866. Chapter 160. Xiaodong nodded and stroked her abdomen with her right hand. "It's already been 3 months." He looked as if he had been struck by lightning. His face was pale and he let go of her stiffly. "The child is Mika Kito's? Do you love him?" Xiaodong did not know how to answer him. She wanted him to give up, so she should answer him accordingly. However, she did not want to use Mika Kito as a shield anymore. "Why aren't you answering me?" he shouted agitatedly. "Do you know how much courage I had to muster to confess to you? Are you not even willing to give me a reason?" She looked up at him. The dim light cast a shadow on her face. "My heart has been given to the 3 children. I don't have the energy to talk about feelings anymore. Fox, let's just be friends. She picked up the umbrella and wanted to leave. He suddenly grabbed her hand. You really can't do that? I'm sorry. Other than these 3 words, she did not know what else to say. Inch by inch, he let go of her hand and watched as she walked further and further away under the streetlights with the umbrella. The pitter-patter of rain had unknowingly become heavier, and it fell into the lake. The lotus lanterns were extinguished one by one, and in the end, there was only a single lantern left floating in the lake. Bailey Yun looked at her figure disappearing into the night. His mood was terrible. He had failed. Was he really going to give up on her? After walking a distance, the tears in Xia Dong's eyes finally fell. She was so silly. The fox liked her for 5 years, but she didn't realize it. Or rather, she knew it, but she pretended not to know. It was all because she was greedy for his elegance and the warmth he gave her. A figure approached her. She was startled and raised her head abruptly. What she saw was Bailey Han's familiar face. He was holding a black umbrella and seemed to have blended in with the night. Why are you here? Bailey Han looked at her. His handsome face was unusually handsome under the dim light and his whole body was cold. I'm just taking a walk. One had to know that it would take an hour to drive from his house. He really knew how to walk around casually. The 2 of them were silent. Unknowingly, they had already reached the ground floor of her house. She mumbled, I'll go up first. His voice was cold. Aren't you going to invite me up? Out of politeness, she should indeed invite him up to have a seat. However, their current situation seemed to be very awkward. I'll send you up. Before she could say anything, he had already made the decision for her. He entered the elevator first and pressed the button to wait for her. The floor numbers jumped, and when the number reached 4, the elevator suddenly shook and stopped moving. The lights went out and the small space was plunged into darkness. The elevator was out of order. Xia Dong quickly took out her phone and used the weak light to illuminate the elevator. Bailey Han also took out his phone and called for help while reaching out to press the elevator alarm. Don't be afraid, the maintenance staff will be here soon. Bailey Han comforted her after ending the call. Xia Dong smiled bitterly. We're really unlucky. We've never encountered an elevator malfunction before. What a coincidence that the 2 of us encountered it together. Bailey Han suddenly hugged her and said in a low voice, You know, I'm very glad that I walked into the elevator with you just now. Her heart trembled. Why? He stroked her long hair and his actions were unbelievably gentle. How could I be at ease leaving you alone in here? It would be a lie to say that she was not touched. Her heart felt like it was stuffed with a ball of cotton. She even forgot to push him away and muttered, You shouldn't be so good to me. He smiled bitterly. I don't want it either. I know that you're someone else's woman, but I just can't control myself. Because he couldn't control his longing for her, he drove to her neighborhood and happened to see a scene that he shouldn't have seen. Xia Dong felt helpless. She realized that she had gotten herself into a lot of emotional debt. Did I Yun confess to you? There were so many lotus flower lights. He only needed to look at them from afar to understand Bailey Yun's intentions. She softly said, Oh. Then how did you reply to him? His hand involuntarily tightened around her shoulders. She laughed. Didn't you say that I'm someone else's woman? Of course I could only reject him. Looks like you really love Mika Kito. Bailey Han's anger rose in an instant. The narrow space was filled with a cold aura. She gently pushed him away and pursed her lips. She didn't say anything else. The atmosphere suddenly became very tense. Just then someone knocked on the elevator door. The people inside, don't worry. We'll get you out as soon as possible. There were clanking sounds outside the door. It was the maintenance staff using tools to pry open the elevator door. Soon the elevator opened a very small gap. The gap grew bigger and bigger. A head peeked in from above the elevator door. It was a man in his 40s. Both of you, give me your hands. I'll pull you up. It was only then that Xia Dong realized that the elevator had stopped between the 4th and 5th floor. It was about 1.5 meters below the entrance of the staircase. If it were any other day, Xia Dong could easily climb up. But now she was pregnant. Come up. Bailey Han understood her predicament. He squatted on the floor with his back facing her and pointed to his shoulder. She couldn't help but recall the time when they were on the deserted island. After she was bitten by a snake, he carried her on his back. He was already impatient. What are you waiting for? It's not the first time. Xia Dong's face instantly darkened. What did he mean by it's not the first time? It sounded very easy to think of strange things, okay? She carefully climbed onto his shoulder. He stood up steadily and slowly. The maintenance staff outside the elevator reached out to grab her and pulled her out. The maintenance staff reached out again and pulled Bailey Han out. "Thank you so much." Xia Dong thanked the two maintenance staff gratefully. The maintenance staff exchanged a few pleasantries and continued to deal with the malfunction. Xia Dong and the others climbed the stairs upstairs. When the door opened, Xiao Bao, who was nestled on the sofa playing on the computer, didn't even raise his head. He said lazily, "Mom, why were you gone for so long?" "I'm back now, aren't I?" Xiao Bao stopped playing. "Uncle Bailey is here. Hurry up and say hi to Uncle." Xia Dong took out a pair of clean slippers and placed them beside Bailey Han's feet. Xiao Bao quickly raised his head. His dark eyes stared intently at Bailey Han. His tone was a little harsh. "Bailey Han, what are you doing here?" "Xiao Bao, don't be so rude." Xia Dong reprimanded him sternly. Xiao Bao rarely got yelled at so harshly by her. He felt very wronged and glared fiercely at Bailey Han, who had just entered the room. "I hate you." He quickly jumped off the sofa, hugged his laptop and ran back to his room. Bailey Han didn't look too good. Xia Dong was full of guilt. "I'm sorry. Xiao Bao is too willful. I didn't teach him well." His thin lips moved. "It's okay." She quickly asked him to sit down. "What do you like to drink?" "Tea." He looked around the living room. Although he had been here a few times, he had never really looked at it seriously. It was a very warm and cozy place that made people feel relaxed and comfortable. He leaned against the soft sofa and watched as she picked up the tea set. Her movements were elegant as she heated the teacups and poured the tea leaves. The tea leaves slowly sank and the tea leaves unfolded. The water vapor mixed with the fragrance of the tea rose like clouds. Her expression was calm as she poured, and ordered the tea. The tea slowly flowed into a small transparent glass teacup. "You know the art of tea." Every time he got close to her, she would give him a new surprise. "I have a lot of time now. I'm interested, so I learned a little. Sorry for making a fool of myself." He picked up the teacup and smelled the fragrance of the tea leaves. "No, it's very good." He wasn't lying. Her skillful postures were even more standard and elegant than those rich miss who came from wealthy families and had learned the art of tea. She chuckled. He put down the teacup and looked at her. "Are you still feeling unwell now that your drug addiction is acting up every day?" "I'm already much better. The antidote you brought is very effective. I haven't thanked you properly yet." He smiled. "You already owe me a lot of thanks. It doesn't matter if you owe me one less time." She raised her eyebrows. "Are you blaming me for not repaying you?" He crossed his arms and looked at her provocatively. "You're the one who said it. I've never said it before." Xia Dong's mouth twitched. He had indeed never said it before. He had only asked her directly how she was going to repay him. Mom, Xiao Bao suddenly ran into the living room in a panic. "Gigai has a fever." Xia Dong stood up from the sofa. The back of her hand accidentally hit the teacup and the hot tea spilled all over the table. It also scalded the back of her hand. She didn't take it to heart at all. She said, "Excuse me," and rushed to her daughter's room. Bailey Han frowned. His eyes were filled with worry as he chased after her. Xiao Guai was lying on the bed with her eyes tightly shut. Her delicate eyebrows were knitted together and her little face was filled with pain. Xia Dong quickly checked her temperature on her forehead. It was frighteningly hot. She quickly took a jacket and put it on Xiao Guai. Then she carried her and said to Xiao Bao, "Baby, mommy will send Gigai to the hospital. After I leave, lock the door and go to bed early. Don't make me worry." "I got it, Mom. Hurry up and go." Xia Dong turned her gaze to Bailey Han. "I'm sorry. My daughter is sick. I have to take her to the hospital." "I'll go with you." Bailey Han stretched out his arm without hesitation. "It's inconvenient for you. I'll carry the child." Xia Dong didn't refuse. She placed the child in his arms, took her handbag and umbrella and hurried out. The elevator was working normally. Xia Dong was still a little worried. Bailey Han had already carried his daughter into the elevator. She had no choice but to follow. Fortunately, the elevator didn't have any more problems. It was still raining. Bailey Han took off his jacket and wrapped it around Xiao Guai. Xia Dong held the umbrella over their heads. Bailey Han found his car and put Xiao Guai in the back seat. "Sit behind the child. It'll be easier to take care of her." Xia Dong was worried that the rain on her body would get on Xiao Guai, so she took off her jacket. Bailey Han turned up the temperature. Beauty novel Songshu 566. Chapter 161. Xiao Guai was sent to the emergency room. Xia Dong sat in the corridor of the hospital and waited anxiously. Xiao Guai had been fine before she went out to meet Bailey Yun. Why did she suddenly have a fever? A fever meant that there was a possibility of infection. Severe anemia was more difficult to control after an infection, and it could be accompanied by complications such as sepsis. Xia Dong couldn't control her mind and kept coming up with scary thoughts. She stared at the door of the emergency room, and her teeth clenched slightly because of her trembling. Bailey Han sat beside her and clearly felt her fear. He couldn't help but reach out and hold her cold right hand. He whispered, "Don't worry, Xiao Guai will be fine." He didn't understand why she was so scared when it was just a common fever and a cold. His strength seemed to be transmitted to her through his palm, making her feel that she wasn't alone and that there was someone with her to get through this difficult time. Her emotions gradually stabilized. Bailey Han felt that Xia Dong had stopped trembling. He wanted to retract his hand but he couldn't bear to. Unexpectedly, she suddenly pulled her right hand out and said softly, "Bailey Han, thank you. It's late now, you should go back first." An inexplicable anger surged in his heart. "Do you think I can leave at this time? So what if she relied on him a little?" Xia Dong bit her lip and didn't say anything else. She was afraid that she would become more greedy for his warmth and hurt his heart. She had already caused enough trouble and didn't want to add another one. They sat quietly in the corridor. Even though they didn't speak, Xia Dong's heart calmed down a lot. After some time, the door of the emergency room finally opened and the doctor walked out. Xia Dong hurriedly went up to him and Bailey Han followed closely behind. "Doctor, how's my daughter?" The doctor's gaze fell on the two of them. "The patient is out of danger, but she's still in a high fever and her respiratory tract is infected. We're already thinking of ways to control her condition. Doctor, please save my daughter." Because she had always been careful in the past, even though Xiao Guai's health was poor, he had never been infected. Once she heard that Xiao Guai had a respiratory infection and a high temperature, Xia Dong panicked. "Don't worry. Your daughter's current situation is already considered relatively good among the similar diseases. Trust us, there will be a way to control her infection." "Thank you, doctor, thank you." Xiao Guai was sent to the isolation ward. After Xia Dong and Bailey Han disinfected themselves, they put on isolation suits, masks and gloves before they were allowed to enter the ward. Her face was pale. She was lying in a pile of instruments, and there was a thin tube in her nose. Xia Dong felt distressed when she saw it. She blamed herself. If she hadn't gone downstairs to see Bailey Yun, if she had stayed by her daughter's side, her daughter might not have had a fever. Bailey Han patted her shoulder. When they came out of the isolation ward, Bailey Han's expression was grave. "What illness does Xiao Guai have?" From the conversation between the doctor and Xia Dong, he had already guessed that Xiao Guai's illness was not simple. "It's just ordinary anemia." Xia Dong didn't dare to tell him the truth for fear of arousing his suspicion. He naturally didn't believe it. Although he wasn't a doctor, he knew that ordinary anemia couldn't have such serious symptoms. Her refusal to tell him the truth made him very angry. But she didn't have time to care. Looking at her watch, it was already past 10 o'clock. She said, "I'm going to make a call." She took out her phone and walked to the end of the corridor to call Lu Xing. She told him about Xiao Guai's illness and that she would be at the hospital to accompany Xiao Guai. She also asked him and Suzaku not to worry and asked him to come to her house to take care of Xiao Bao. When she came back after the call, Bailey Han was nowhere to be seen. She thought that he had already gone back, but she didn't expect him to come back a few minutes later. He said lightly, "I've already asked the nurse miss to arrange for someone to take care of you. You can go home and rest tonight." "Thank you, but I'm worried. I'll stay too." He grabbed her wrist and his handsome face was cold. "Have you forgotten that you're pregnant? If something happens to you, who will take care of Xiao Guai?" She was stunned and couldn't refute him. "You have nothing to say? Very well, I'll take you home now." He grabbed her wrist and dragged her forward. She quickly grabbed onto the bench. "Wait a minute, I want to see Xiao Guai again." He let go of her hand. She stood in front of the window of the isolation ward and looked at her daughter who was still unconscious through the glass. She prayed silently in her heart that her daughter would be able to get through the night safely, that her body temperature would drop quickly, and that her respiratory infection would be controlled quickly. "Okay, let's go." She was afraid that the more she looked at her daughter, the more reluctant she would be to leave. She steeled her heart and turned to leave. It was already 11 o'clock when they arrived downstairs. Bailey Han insisted on taking her upstairs. Standing at the door, she took out the key to open the door. Just as she put the key in, the door was opened by someone from inside. Lu Xing stood in front of them expressionlessly. His eyes were cold and murderous through his thick lenses and sharp as a knife as he glanced at Bailey Han. His whole body was emitting a signal. How dare you steal boss's woman? You don't want to live anymore. Bailey Han completely ignored him and said goodbye to Xia Dong calmly. Be careful on the road. Xia Dong watched Bailey Han enter the elevator and glared at Lu Xing. Lu Xing, do you have to be so obvious? Am I? Lu Xing's tone was indifferent. I think my expression is very normal. Your expression is very normal because you've always been expressionless. But your eyes are about to freeze. Xia Dong was speechless. Do you hate Bailey Han that much? Lu Xing said indifferently, if I liked him, things would be serious. Lu Xing, so you also know how to joke. Be careful that no girl likes you when you're always so cold. Lu Xing's mouth twitched. No, I'm very popular in Japan. A flock of crows flew over Xia Dong's head. Sure enough, she shouldn't have had too high expectations for Lu Xing's humor. Xia Dong scratched her head. You can sleep on the sofa tonight. You don't mind, right? Yes, sure. Xia Dong ran into the room, took a clean blanket and pillow and laid them on the sofa. It seemed that she had to prepare a simple single bed in case of emergencies. Xia Dong rushed to the hospital early in the morning. The prenatal checkup that was originally scheduled for the morning was postponed to the afternoon. Xiao Guai hadn't woken up yet, but the doctor said that her body temperature had dropped last night. Other than a respiratory infection, there were no other symptoms for the time being. Xia Dong was so excited that she kept thanking the doctor. After more than half an hour, Yi Siki also arrived at the hospital with a thermos of chicken soup in her hand. Why did you make chicken soup? Xiao Guai hasn't woken up yet. She can't eat it now. Yi Siki scooped a small bowl with a spoon and handed it to her. This is for you. You were worried about Xiao Guai, so you definitely didn't eat well. You can take it, but the baby can't. Quick, drink it while it's hot. Holding the warm chicken soup in her hand, the room was filled with the fragrance of chicken soup. Xia Dong was very touched. After drinking the soup, Xia Dong said, Yesterday it was Bailey Han who sent Xiao Guai and I to the hospital. I'm a little worried that he will find out about Xiao Guai's illness. Why don't you just tell him the truth? Seeing them so conflicted, Yi Siki felt tired for them. How can I do that? If the old madam finds out, she'll eat me up. Xia Dong was scared when she thought about the scene back then. When will you stop being like this? Can you hide it from him forever? I'll hide it for a while. When the baby is born and Xiao Guai's illness is cured, I'll leave City A. By then the truth won't matter anymore. Xia Dong leaned back in her chair and chuckled softly. I realize that I'm like a frightened bird now. As long as there's even the slightest movement, I'm worried that the truth will be revealed. Yi Siki hit the nail on the head. But Bailey Han's feelings for you seem to be getting deeper and deeper. What do you plan to do about it? She laughed. What do you think I'm best at? Yi Siki rolled his eyes. Running away. Whenever she encountered relationship problems, Xia Dong would run away. Yi Siki was really speechless with her. Just as they said this, Xia Dong's cell phone rang. It was Bailey Han. How is Xiao Guai now? She's much better. Thank you for your concern. I'll visit her after work tonight. Okay, sorry to trouble you. Every sentence was very polite, as if she was chatting with a stranger. Bailey Han frowned. You take care of yourself too. Okay, I know. After the call ended, Yi Siki looked helpless. He was right. Bailey Han was getting more and more attentive to Xiaxia. It was a pity that Xiaxia wasn't willing to give him any response. Yi Siki sat for a while longer. Xia Dong urged her to go home, saying that her daughter was also home alone. Xia Dong walked Yi Siki to the elevator. When the elevator doors opened, she bumped into someone she didn't want to see, Xia Jinxing. Xia Jinxing also saw her. The moment the elevator doors closed, he pressed the button and walked out. Xia Dong looked at him coldly. After not seeing him for a few months, he looked even older. He must have been exhausted because of Su Xingqian's matter. Xia, why are you here? Are you sick? Or are the children sick? Xia Jinxing asked with concern. Xia Dong said indifferently, Why are you concerned about me instead of your precious daughter? Xia Jinxing's expression froze and he squeezed out an ugly smile. Xia, you're also my daughter. Xingqian is now staying in this hospital. I only found out later that Xingqian had done a lot of things to hurt you. Xia, I apologize on her behalf. Xia Dong wanted to laugh. There were so many hospitals in a city, but they just had to stay in one. How much is a caddy for your apology? Too cheap. I don't care. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. She turned to leave. Xianxia, he wanted to hold her back, but when his fingers touched her wrist, he was mercilessly flung away. Add Songshu 566. Chapter 162. Xia Jinxing watched as she walked further and further away. In the end, he couldn't help but secretly follow her. In the end, he found that she had stopped in front of the isolation ward. He didn't dare to approach her and could only watch from afar. When she changed into the isolation gown and entered the ward, he acted like a thief and leaned against the wall. He saw his cute little granddaughter lying on the hospital bed, her face pale and weak to the point that it made his heart ache. His phone suddenly rang. Xia Jinxing hurriedly covered his phone and quickly ran away. He lowered his voice. Honey. Xia Jinxing, where are you now? Why haven't you come down after so long? Su Morong's unhappy voice came from the phone. I just asked you to come down and get something. You're not happy, are you? Honey, you misunderstood. There were too many people in the elevator, so I waited for a few more minutes. Xia Jinxing quickly ran to the elevator. When he reached this floor, he quickly pressed the button. Hurry up and come down. Su Morong didn't wait for his reply and impatiently hung up the phone. Xia Jinxing ran all the way out of the hospital. In the parking lot outside the hospital, a luxury car was parked. Seeing him appear, the car window slowly rolled down. Su Morong handed a bag of clothes out of the window. She frowned and complained, "This is Xingqian's change of underwear. Give it to the nurse. You knew that I had to go to the company for a meeting, so why didn't you hurry up?" Xia Jinxing took the bag and smiled. "Okay, I got it. Honey, hurry up and go." Su Xingqian stayed in the VIP ward on the 12th floor. Ever since her face was disfigured, her temper became more and more irritable. She was like a firecracker. As long as someone said something she didn't like, she would fly into a rage. Because of this, Xia Jinxing had to be careful. He even helped to say a lot of good things to the doctors and nurses. Although her temper was irritable in front of Su Morong, she was as obedient as before. So every time Su Morong heard Xia Jinxing say that Su Xingqian's temper became worse, she didn't take it seriously. This only increased Su Xingqian's temper. When Xia Jinxing returned to the ward, Su Xingqian was throwing a tantrum again. The things on the bedside table were scattered all over the floor. The cause was that Su Xingqian's hair was accidentally hooked by the nurse when she wiped her body. Su Xingqian had her first plastic surgery and her face was wrapped in gauze. She leaned against the bed and pointed at the nurse's nose and scolded her. The nurse's nurse is sorry, but she didn't let her. Xia Jinxing couldn't stand it anymore. He put the bag aside and said, "Xingqian, she didn't do it on purpose. Don't blame her anymore." She didn't do it? Then she did it on purpose to kill me? Xia Jinxing's suit look. Teet, so what if I? Xingqian of her testes, Subi's not be laughed. Xia Jinxing immediately shut his mouth. He knew that if he continued to argue, Su Xingqian's mood would only get worse. He waved his hand and called the nurse outside the door. Lowering his voice, he said, "Little Wang, Xingqian's current condition is not good. She often says some unpleasant things. Don't take it to heart." Little Wang had taken care of many patients before and had seen many with bad tempers. However, it was her first time seeing someone like Su Xingqian. She felt wronged. "Mr. Xia, I can't do this job. You should hire someone else." "Little Wang, please be understanding." Xia Jinxing said some nice words, but Little Wang didn't want to take it anymore. "How about this, Little Wang? I'll give you double your salary. You can hold on a little longer, okay?" Little Wang hesitated. The Su family was already giving her a high nursing fee. If she were to double it, the amount would be considerable. However, with Su Xingqian's temper, after hesitating for a while, she finally nodded her head. Xia Jinxing breathed a sigh of relief. In this month, Su Xingqian had already angered 2 nurses. If Little Wang also quit, he really didn't know where to find such an experienced and good-tempered nurse. After comforting the nurse, Xia Jinxing returned to the ward. "Xingqian, you rest for a while. I'm going out to do something." "Didn't you just come downstairs?" Su Xingqian had been lying on the bed for a long time. Whenever she saw someone else walking around freely, her heart would burn with anger. "I just came downstairs to get your clothes. I'm going out to buy some fruits for you." "Okay then. Come back quickly." Xia Jinxing didn't take the elevator directly to the ground floor. Instead, he stopped on the 7th floor. This was where he met Xia Dong. He wanted to take a few more glances at Xiao Guai. On Xia Dong's side, the situation was a bit complicated. She didn't expect her aunt and uncle to suddenly visit the children at her home. Lu Xing didn't know the situation and directly told them that Xiao Guai was hospitalized. The two elders rushed to the hospital. When they saw Xiao Guai in the isolation ward, they immediately thought that Xiao Guai was seriously ill. They didn't believe Xia Dong's words and directly ran to the doctor's office to ask about Xiao Guai's condition. Xia Yun kept wiping her tears. How did this happen? How did Xiao Guai get this kind of illness? Xia Dong comforted, Aunt, don't be sad. Xiao Guai's illness can still be treated. She will definitely get better. Xia Yun's expression suddenly became fierce. Bah. She slapped her on the arm. Xia Dong, you're so capable now, aren't you? Bah. How dare you hide such a big thing from me? If I didn't find out now, how long were you going to hide it from me? Aunt. Xia Dong hugged her arm. Just like when she was young, she softly begged for mercy. Aunt, don't be angry. I just didn't want you and Uncle to worry. It's all my fault. Scold me all you want, but please don't be angry. If you hurt your body, Uncle and I will be heartbroken. You're so glib. Xia Yun angrily poked her forehead with her finger and sighed. I heard from the doctor that Xiao Guai has to undergo an umbilical cord blood transplant. What should we do? Xia Dong leaned over and whispered something in her ear. Xia Yun's expression became even worse. She stared at her in disbelief. You're pregnant? The child is Bailey Han's? Yes. Xia Dong nodded. So Aunt, don't worry too much. After the baby is born, the doctor can operate on Xiao Guai. How could Xia Yun not be worried? Xiao Guai's matter had been resolved, but Xia Dong had suddenly been promoted from a mother of 2 to a mother of 3. Moreover, she didn't have a husband. What would others think of her? She held Xia Dong's hand tightly. Xia, let's hurry up and find a man to marry. How about Mika Keto? I think he treats you very well. He's been taking care of you all these years in Japan. He knows you very well. Aunt, I've always treated him as an older brother, Xia Dong said helplessly. If her aunt knew that Mika Keto was in the underworld, she definitely wouldn't have said those words. Then I'll use my connections and find someone to introduce you to a blind date. Let's try to get married after the baby is born. Xia Yun was very decisive. She looked up and asked her husband, Gao Mingyuan, Honey, are there any male teachers in your school who are around 30 years old who are not married yet? If there are any suitable ones, you can introduce them to Xiaxia. Aunt, Xia Dong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You're dreaming. I'm a mother of 3 now. Who would want me? Child, how can you say that? Xia Yun was very protective. She was unhappy when she heard this. She poked her forehead with her finger. So what if you're a mother of 3? You're so young, beautiful, and capable. Who would dare to dislike you? I'll fight him. Xia Dong quickly hugged her arm. And let's not rush. Let's not talk about this first. The most important thing now is to treat Xiao Guai's illness. Xia Yun was worried. Xiao Guai's illness is important. Your marriage is also important. Anyway, I want the baby to be born with a father. Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai were born in Japan. It was fine if they didn't have a father, but now the baby in her belly must be born in China. She must find a father for the baby. No matter how Xia Dong tried to persuade her, Xia Yun took this matter to heart. While they were chatting, they found that Xiao Guai in the isolation ward had woken up. They quickly changed into isolation clothes and went to see her. Diga, you're awake. Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? The 3 adults surrounded her. Mommy, great-aunt, great-grandpa. Xiao Guai's eyes slid across them. Her big eyes had lost their usual luster. Her pink lips were dry and cracked, and her soft voice was hoarse. Mommy, I feel so uncomfortable. Where do you feel uncomfortable? Tell Mommy. Xia Dong sat by her bed and held her little hand with heartache. My chest hurts. My throat hurts. My head is dizzy and I want to vomit. Don't be afraid. Great-aunt will call the doctor for you. Xia Yun let Xia Dong stay with the child while she hurried out to call the doctor. Unexpectedly, when she reached the corridor, she saw Xia Jinxing walking over in a panic. She shouted, Xia Jinxing. Xia Jinxing had been peeking outside the isolation ward. He didn't expect Xia Yun to suddenly come out and be caught red-handed. He looked embarrassed. What are you doing here? Are you peeking at Xiao Guai? Xia Yun was angry when she saw him. She said angrily, Don't come here again. We don't want to see you again. Xia Yun shouted so loudly that everyone in the room heard it. Xia Dong didn't want to go out and cause trouble for herself. Gao Mingyuan was afraid that Xia Yun and Xia Jinxing would quarrel, so he said something and went out to persuade them. Wife, this is the hospital. Don't shout so loudly. It's not good to be seen by others. Gao Mingyuan walked to their side. Xia Yun snorted and glared at Xia Jinxing. Forget it. I don't want to talk nonsense with you now. With that, she went to find the doctor. Xia Jinxing's old face turned red and white. Gao Mingyuan looked at him. Old Qi Xiaoguai is seriously ill. Xia Dong and Xia Yun are both upset. It's better if you don't appear in front of them for the time being. Xia Jinxing looked embarrassed. I know. I just want to know how Xiaoguai is. What illness does she have? Attention Hongcha 866. Chapter 163. Aplastic anemia. Gao Mingyuan patted him on the shoulder. I know you're not doing well either. I advise you to stay away from us. If the Su family finds out, they won't let you off easily. I understand. Xia Jinxing was embarrassed by his words. Xingchen is also staying in this hospital. I'll go up first. Gao Mingyuan couldn't help but sigh as he watched Xia Jinxing's fleeing figure. He still remembered how Xia Ling and Xia Dong had suffered when Xia Jinxing abandoned them. He also knew that Xia Jinxing had secretly helped Xia Ling's small restaurant, but Su Murong soon came looking for them. The next day, a group of hooligans came and smashed Xia Ling's restaurant. He didn't need to guess to know that it was Su Murong's doing. Doctor, please take a look. How is the child now? After a detailed examination, the doctor said, the patient's temperature is normal, and the respiratory infection is under control. There are no other symptoms of infection. Her condition is relatively good. But the child is uncomfortable. Chest pain, throat pain, dizziness, nausea. Her upper respiratory infection is acute pharyngitis and laryngitis. Chest pain and throat pain are normal reactions. Dizziness and nausea are also symptoms of aplastic anemia. The doctor explained in detail and said, I'll prescribe some medicine for her to relieve her current symptoms. Thank you, doctor. After the doctor left, Xiaoguai lay weakly and pitifully, looking at Xia Dong with teary eyes. Mommy, it's all my fault. Gigai, what's wrong? Xia Dong stroked her hair. I really want to eat ice cream, but Mommy and brother won't let me eat it. Mommy wasn't home last night, so I ate ice cream without telling brother. It was because Xiaoguai ate ice cream that she got a fever. Xia Dong hugged her heart full of guilt. If she had been at home with the child, this wouldn't have happened. Big drops of tears rolled down from Xiaoguai's eyes. She sobbed, Mommy, it's all my fault. It's okay. Gigai, don't cry, Xia Dong coaxed her gently. Gigai will get better soon, but you can't eat ice cream anymore. Okay, I won't eat it anymore. Xiaoguai nodded sensibly. After lunch, Xia Dong went to the People's Hospital for a checkup. Xia Yun went home to make soup for Xiaoguai while Gao Mingyuan stayed at the hospital to take care of her. After the prenatal checkup, Lin Shihao said that both the fetus and the mother were healthy. Xia Dong hesitated for a moment and asked, Shihao, I want to know if the medicine has any effect on the child. When will it be tested? From the 16th to the 20th week of pregnancy, you can perform an examination for abnormalities. Through the Tang screening, you can screen the development of the fetus's neural tube. At around the 24th week, you can perform a three-dimensional ultrasound to observe whether the general structure of the limbs and organs is deformed. Xia Dong took note of the time seriously. Lin Shihao said, How is Xiaoguai now? Xia Dong repeated what the doctor said. Lin Shihao comforted her. She'll be fine after the infection is controlled. Don't worry too much. Okay, I'm fine. Go on with your work. I won't disturb you anymore. Xia Dong smiled. Someone knocked on the office door. Lin Shihao said, Come in. Bai Meiwei walked in with a cup of coffee. She placed the coffee on Lin Shihao's desk and said with a smile, I bought coffee just now and I bought a cup for you too. I know you like black coffee without sugar. Lin Shihao smiled. Thank you. Xia Dong recognized Bai Meiwei. She was the woman who sat in Lin Shihao's car that day. Okay, senior, I won't disturb you anymore. Bai Meiwei's gaze fell on Xia Dong. She nodded politely and walked out of the office. I should get going too. Shihao, sorry to trouble you. You don't have to be so polite. Lin Shihao walked her to the door of the office. Bailey Han got off work early and drove to the hospital to visit Xiaoguai. Yisiki was also there. Xia Dong was feeding Xiaoguai food. Through the glass, he saw her patiently feeding Xiaoguai a spoonful of soup. Then she used a tissue to wipe away the soup stains on her lips. Yisiki walked up to him. Bailey Han, I want to talk to you. They were sitting in the corridor. The door to the isolation ward was closed, so their voices couldn't be heard. Yi Siki looked up at the glass window. Xiaodong was focused on feeding Xiao Guai and didn't notice them. She lowered her voice and said, "Do you really like Xiaodong?" She thought he wouldn't answer, but to her surprise, he answered with a serious yes. Yi Siki smiled. "Will you despise her because she's an unwed mother?" He frowned. "No. He was an unwed father himself, wasn't he? And I'm saying if Xiaxia likes you too, will you marry her?" Bailey Han's gaze was deep and penetrating. "Miss Yi, what are you trying to say?" Yi Siki smiled. "Don't get so agitated. I just want Xiaxia to be happy." Bailey Han's gaze froze. He said calmly, "She has Mikakito now. They're already engaged." Yi Siki retorted sharply, "You and Su Yunxian were also engaged. Are you two together now?" Bailey Han's face darkened. "She's pregnant with Mikakito's child." Yi Siki sneered. "So you keep saying that you won't despise her child, but in the end you're still despising the baby in her belly. Forget it. Forget what I said." She got up and was about to leave when Bailey Han's calm voice came from behind. "What I really mind is that she loves Mikakito. If it wasn't love, why would she be pregnant with his child?" Yi Siki's back was facing him, and her lips curved into a satisfied smile. She turned around and looked at him quietly. "What if I say that she doesn't love Mikakito? Would you be willing to marry her?" He didn't answer, but she could see his answer from his resolute gaze. She smiled and sat back down beside him. She said softly, "Bailey Han, I'm only going to tell you this once. Listen carefully. Xiaxia and Mikakito are only pretending to be engaged. The child in Xiaxia's belly isn't Mikakito's. She's not a fickle woman. As for whose child it is, don't tell me you still don't know?" Bailey Han felt a gush of hot air rush to his head. He was completely stunned. The thoughts that popped into his head were driving him crazy. His heart was pounding like a war drum. He almost wanted to rush in and interrogate that little woman who was full of lies. His deep eyes were filled with coldness as he stared fixedly at the glass window. His gaze was like an icicle piercing into Xiaodong's body. She actually had a fake engagement with Mikakito. The child in her belly was really his, but she lied and said that it was Mikakito's. Damn it, how could he fall for such a liar? But he deserved to die for liking her. Bailey Han clenched his fists. He wanted to beat himself up. Yi Siki smirked. "You should keep these things to yourself. If you interrogate Xiaxia, she will never admit it. Also, don't rat me out. Otherwise, I won't help you anymore." His voice was filled with suppressed anger. "What else do you know? Whose children are Xiao Guai and Xiao Bao?" Yi Siki shrugged. "I won't say another word about them. If you're interested, you can check it out yourself." She muttered in her heart, "Xiaxia, don't blame me. I'm just thinking about your lifelong happiness." Yi Siki continued, "Don't blame me for not reminding you. Mikakito will be back in a month at most. When that time comes, it will be much harder for you to pursue Xiaxia. So you'd better take action now." He frowned. "Okay, I'm going back now. You can keep her company." Yi Siki bid farewell to Xiaodong and Xiao Guai and left the hospital. Bailey Han changed into his isolation suit. Xiao Guai had already finished eating and was lying quietly in bed, listening to Xiaodong tell her a story. Seeing him, Xiao Guai was very happy. Her beautiful eyes curved into cute crescents as she said softly, "Uncle Bailey, I'm so happy to see you." Bailey Han's eyes were full of smiles as he said gently, "Why?" Xiao Guai giggled. "Because you're as handsome as Uncle Shen." "Giga, you're such a love-struck fool." Xiaodong pinched her little nose in annoyance. It was just a childish remark, but Bailey Han took it seriously. He sat on the chair beside her bed and expressed his opinion seriously. "I'm more handsome than your Uncle Shen, right, Xiaodong?" There was a mischievous look in his eyes as he waited for her answer. Xiaodong was speechless. "You're both very handsome. Are you happy now?" She had never seen such a narcissistic person. "No, Uncle Shen is more handsome." Xiao Guai pouted unhappily. In her heart, Uncle Shen was closer to her, so she had to defend Uncle Shen, even though Uncle Bailey was actually a little more handsome than Uncle Shen. Xiaodong poked Bailey Han's arm and smiled mischievously. "See, Xiao Guai doesn't agree with your opinion. It's okay. No matter what Xiao Guai says, it's always right." Bailey Han didn't mind at all. There was a doting look in his eyes as he smiled and stroked Xiao Guai's hair. However, he didn't expect that a gentle touch would cause him to remove several strands of hair. He had a bad feeling in his heart. He calmly hid the strands of hair in his palm and smiled as if nothing had happened. Gigai, Uncle will bring Brother E to see you tomorrow, okay? Okay. Xiaoguai's eyes sparkled. She suddenly turned her gaze to Xia Dong. Mommy, let Brother come over too. The three of us can play together, okay? Okay, Mommy will bring Brother over tomorrow. After chatting for a while, Xiaoguai was tired. Xia Dong sang a nursery rhyme to coax her to sleep. After she fell asleep, they quietly left. Bailey Han stretched his arm in front of her and opened his palm. What's going on? Add Songshu 566, that you're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.